All right. So
Okay. Welcome
just
to
okay. Go ahead. Kick it off.
USVN. Welcome to USVN, the Unbalanced Sports Views Network. I don't even know what we're doing, where we are at the point in
14.
the schedule. Yeah, episode 15, week 14, roundup in our week 15 picks. And with that, I'm going to shut up. And I forgot to change my name, which is nice. I get to be,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
That is,
You got to
that
do
is a
that.
first. That's a
You gotta
first.
hide.
You're gonna shut up and let someone else talk first? Wow. Mike,
It
don't let
is
it go to waste.
no. I don't know if it's set in with you guys. I don't think Brian even realizes it yet. How exciting we are potential because this season, okay, is kind of like the sample. It's the test run, so to speak, and it's documented. And we're picking every game with the spread.
Yep.
And if you can do that all season and finish at like 53% or above, you legitimately you would legitimately have a site for that people would pay $10 a month to listen to your picks every Sunday. They have it all over the place. It's like that's what you get when you literally pay for these sites. So we are on target and on track to not only possibly be in that world, and this is deep into the season, by the way, but also I have a strategy for baseball when we get to the baseball season, which we will use. And this is great because if we could go a full season and say we finish at 50, this is just optimistic, totally wishful thinking. Say I finish at 55% winning percentage. That's legit money right there. If we were gambling on every game, say the same amount, and that's better than most people. That's a winning. That's what the pros look for. That's what the professional gamblers look for is that 54, 55% winning percentage in football.
Yeah.
So I think we legitimately, and this is, like I said, it's all being documented, right? So
I have a couple of questions.
thanks to Yahoo. Thanks to Yahoo. But what's missing is I need to come up with, of course, the lock of the week. I haven't been really doing a lock of the week. But
the stone cold lock of the week.
the Greeks corner. We go for the lock of the week to the Greeks corner.
I have questions. So are we talking about your picks in Yahoo or your everyman betting strategy?
No. This is because Yahoo we're doing every game in Yahoo.
Hold on,
that's
guys.
The important
Hold on a
thing.
second.
So I know. So the whole season, that's why we have to use the Yahoo. The Yahoo's documented every game with the spread, and it's there's no real messing around. You can't tweak it or anything. The everyman is a whole different strategy. That's for specific games. I still love that strategy.
It's for Gamblers Anonymous people.
It's for people that have problems. It's for people that have a problem with gambling and can't stop. But I'm excited. I haven't even looked at the games yet. I'm last week. Well, that's what I've done every week. But last week, because I've been so lousy in the late games, last week I did go back in and I gave the 4:00 games a second look. I changed a few of them around.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember exactly. I think they won. I think I was like, I lost one I shouldn't have changed, and then like I won two that I'm glad I changed. But yeah, so I'm giving it a little bit more thought now that I see that this is getting down to we're getting down to the wire here.
These are famous last words.
Where did they go?
And if you start thinking about it, it's going to start going wrong.
Oh, you ain't kidding. You are not even kidding.
You're allowed to talk now, Brian.
Well, I just wanted to say, here's what Mike, if you want to give your lock of the week, here's how we start it.
'Cause that's the bottom line. 'Cause Stone Cold said so. 'Cause that's the bottom line. 'Cause Stone Cold said so.
I like that.
We might have royalty issues with that one.
It's if you run a filter over it. Oh, isn't that weird? Can you guys hear that?
No.
Government
shutting you down already.
No. I stopped the video and I must have clicked something in the instead of Xing it out, and it pulled up Der Montreal Screwjob.
The wrestling.
It's all in German. I have no idea what this is, but it was just like some weird.
Funny.
I was like, okay, that was like, don't know what I'm firing up there. But anything called a screw job, I was a little nervous about what was.
That's a legit story. Do you not know what it is?
No.
It's when SummerSlam, Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels, and Bret Hart was threatening to leave the company, and Vince McMahon basically told the referee to fast count him when Shawn Michaels pinned him at I think it was at SummerSlam to lose the belt as he was leaving the company.
Interesting. Oh yeah, I know this story. It was just because it was in German. It didn't.
Right. No, yeah, for sure.
and the fact that what played was not wrestling. It was a commercial. That was like like an older man talking to an older woman, like in a van, like in the like out in the countryside, and it was like what is about to, and all I saw was the word screw job, and this older couple like talking to me in German, looking at in the countryside. So I was like, can you guys hear that? Because I don't even know what they're saying.
Hey, Mike and I surf different websites than you, sir.
I'm notorious for searching mature German country porn.
It's research.
Indeed. You'll never see the German fascists coming unless you're watching. Never mind.
Yeah.
Sorry. Right. I couldn't get through that. I couldn't get through that line. It was a good one, but I couldn't get through it. Anyway. So yeah, Mike, I agree. I mean, it's a your system is well, I have no idea if your system is any good because you don't follow it.
Not in this. You keep merging the two.
You followed it for a bit. Well, but that's the thing. Like, it's not a marketable strategy because I can't use the system.
I can't use the system in what we do on Yahoo because it doesn't allow you to pick both sides.
Well,
that's why I can't use the system. The system requires you to take one side, the money line, and the other side with the points.
Right. I understand, right? But you could take the point side. And then
that's not the system. Then I do that sometimes. I do that sometimes.
Yes, you do it in real life. But what I'm saying is, when you do it, but you're not doing it. You said do it every game. It doesn't matter.
Yes,
you would still
it's separate. It's got to be a separate strategy. It's got to be separate strategy. Like I said, this is marketed specifically to the Gamblers Anonymous crowd.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do, but I also understand what he's saying, and you're both saying, dude, two completely different things. This is why I'm just sitting back, letting you guys do this because you've done it week after week, and I find it hysterical. Because you're right, he's not following his strategy, but that's because what you're missing is that for his strategy to be a thing and be complete, both things have to be possible, which is not possible on the other side.
Exactly.
I understand that, but in a league where we're picking just one half of that equation, he should be consistent in that half of the equation. What he's doing with actual money in real life. Here's my argument
on his behalf against you on this is that one is a picking strategy where we're determining who we think will do a certain thing, and that is Yahoo. The other is a betting strategy, not a picking to win strategy. And so one is just one is in hedging, which you and I have established. That's all he's doing.
Right.
But it's a betting strategy.
I didn't establish that he was edging. That is not any of our business.
Not hedging. Listen, we don't need to hear
my business.
German board sites. Like we can move on from that.
All right.
Well, all the trash talking I'm doing, I better not lay an egg. That's all I say. That's all I gotta say, man. Because I've done that a couple times this season. I've had a 4-stroke. Remember? I've had a couple of those.
Little 4-stroke.
We talking
a little 4-stroker.
Well, he's been edging, and then he has a 4-stroke.
Yeah.
And before you know it, the German porn is coming.
Speaking of unbalanced views on sports,
I mean, this is as sports as it gets. All right, so I'm tempted to get into to spilling some tea, over the hottest story of the week that has nothing to do with football except everything to do with football. Well, the hottest story of the week is probably Shohei Ohtani getting signed to $700 million.
And you guys will never convince me that baseball is watching.
and that they're
I agree with you.
and that they're deferring all but $2 million a year.
It's
Which is
bullying.
insane.
It's
It is
bullying.
It's insane.
So, are there any rules that are there any rules at all? Because that sounds
Well,
like if they
What are they
can
going
do
to pay
that,
a
they can
royalty tax? Like, what are they going to do?
listen. I know,
yeah.
like we were paying, like for example, Albert Bell for many years.
Yeah.
We're paying what's his face Padilla Albert. I mean, what's his name?
Bobby Bonilla.
For
When you
Bobby
say
Bonilla.
we, I mean, who is the we in this? I mean, at least with we, I was like, yes, the Orioles we, the
Orioles.
royal we, the Orioles fans. Yeah,
The
paying
Mets.
Albert Bell for years. No,
Who's
yeah,
paying
the Mets.
Bonilla?
The Mets are
Mets
paying
are-
Bonilla, I think, through
Mets.
27 or something like that.
Right.
And that guy's been out of the league for 25 years. Yeah.
Those contracts were absurd, I thought, but I thought it was pretty cool on the players' behalf because you can annuitize that. That's pretty cool to get $1 million every birthday, like he does for many, many years. It's pretty awesome. But then
and I guess
thinking,
Shohei Ohtani will get like $50 million a year for every birthday.
So I'm thinking though,
68.
Is that what it is?
like
68 every
how
year?
does
Oh yeah.
how does how does that just stop any club from signing anybody and saying, we're going to make this a fucking 40-year contract and just
Yeah,
whatever.
It doesn't.
That's why I said it's bullying. It's an organization that can afford to do something like that
Sure.
when there are very few that can do that.
Sure.
And they can literally buy the best player at every position doing
And-
that strategy.
Yeah, and that is, I mean, obviously that is a bit of a problem, but there's no salary cap in baseball either. So, it
It's
is
like this fake luxury tax thing.
Yeah, there's
they
a
do,
weird
right?
luxury. There's a luxury tax thing. That's not exactly fake. I mean, they probably
Right.
will pay it, but I mean, the Dodgers are like something like the 5th or 6th most valuable franchise in the world. Something top 10. I mean, I think the franchise alone, just the name is worth several billion dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and I think in revenue, I think they think they're making something like I think their over budget revenue is something like, I don't know, 300 million a year or something like that. I mean, they're printing money in that place. So, they certainly the team can afford it. But the thing about baseball, I would say, is that it has continued to be the case that yes, you'll have these moments where a team will sort of try to buy a World Series, much like the Rams did in their own way, mortgaging their future, but not, obviously they had to be more creative, manipulating, giving away all their draft picks, signing a bunch of veterans, and using their salary cap on a 1-year winner, do or die season. But in baseball, you always have, you seem to always have, you might have a year, you might have a year where the 96 Yankees manage to win the World Series.
Yeah.
Right.
Most time it's young teams like the Marlins.
But you've got the Rays who paid nothing and just built a homegrown team and then win a World Series. You've got the Orioles who have one of the lower, the lower payrolls in baseball, who've built it through fire sale after fire sale after fire sale.
We'll lose all of our players eventually, but we'll win a lot until then.
Yeah, I mean, the
Yankees will take them all eventually.
Maybe. I mean, maybe the
Mount Castles, they'll all be gone because we won't be able to afford them.
The thing about the Rays and the Orioles is that they've been able to show that it is possible to have a farm system strategy to win, put together a winning team. So I don't know. I mean, I do think it's kind of messed up.
I'm totally against
bullying.
If I were an owner, I would never pay it. I was against paying the first baseman that we're still paying $100 million. What's his name?
Chris Davis.
Chris Davis. I just don't think any player is worth all that money. And it seems to always Alex Rodriguez, when he signed the $200-something million contract,
he was worth every penny of that. The Rangers signed him to this huge deal, and what was he? He was only the best player in baseball for the next 6 of the next 8 years or 9 years.
Yeah, but I just
they traded him to the Yankees because it was bankrupting the team. So
Well, how many World Series did he bring the Texas Rangers for all that money? I just don't see the value.
That's kind of the point that I'm making with this, though, is nothing this egregious has been done before.
No.
And the problem that A-Rod
Now-
had is he had no team around him. I mean, they had a team, but they didn't have a team full of stars.
Not in the range.
And
Yeah,
that's usually the handicap for this type of thing for like the Yankees or the Red Sox or whoever else, even the Dodgers in the past,
Yeah.
right? You come in at a $2 million a year salary on arguably one of the, if not the best player in baseball.
and already
And
one of the
now,
best teams in baseball.
Why
you're
doesn't
gonna-
this? How
it's gonna
come
get
this
crazy.
can't be? How come the small market teams can't do the same strategy now? Because it would
Capital.
seem to make it easier.
Well, because
They
the
don't have the
Dodgers
same
are
amount of
because the
capital.
Dodgers are printing money. Like the Dodgers are like,
Yes.
hey, we know we're going to make 300 million over payroll every year, or
Well,
200 million over pay. So we can sign. We know 700 million is no problem. If you're the Minnesota Twins, I mean, you don't know that you have 700 million. Like you don't
Well-
know. Like the franchise isn't the I mean, I don't know what the Twins
Like,
franchise is worth, but 700
as
million
a-
probably is close to what it's worth.
But I would say, true, you won't be able to sign him for sure. You'd lose
Sure.
out to him to those guys. But I think using that strategy, you'll be able to get a lot of top players because it's not like the value of your franchise is going to go down. You're going to start losing money at all. You know you're going to be able to pay him at some point. You just stretch the contract out longer and you'll be able to pay him.
Yeah, I mean,
And
if
like-
they're willing to do that,
So-
and I mean, you know,
But this guy, I will say this guy's historically good. This guy's
yeah.
better than anybody I've
Well,
seen in a long
sure.
time. Like,
he is
as a player.
I mean,
He's
honestly, I have no qualms about his salary. I mean, I know it's eye popping, but like $70 million a year, you figure, what do you
It's in-
pay? What do you
in
pay?
relation
What do you
to
pay?
the other guys.
Well,
I
what do you
agree with
pay a top 10 pitcher in baseball per year? You know, when you're signing a top 10 pitcher, what 40 million a year? You know, something like that.
Yep.
40, you know, give or take. And what do you what do
a
you
top batter?
and what do you pay a top 10 slugger in baseball? 35, 40
Yep.
million a year? I mean, and you're giving him 70 to be both? I mean, that seems
Yeah.
I mean, it's an
It's why he
insane
works for him.
number.
I wonder how it's going to work though, because the Dodgers are in the NL. He won't be playing DH like he did.
Yeah, but they'll put him at first or they'll put him in right field. I mean, I'm sure that they'll figure it
he's
out.
pitching. He's not if
No, I
he's-
mean, I know they'll figure it out. I'm just surprised. Like a team, I'm surprised an American League team didn't throw more money at him. Like he'll pitch,
Oh.
yes, but he's only going
But-
to pitch like every
But
what, 4 or 5 days.
honestly, no, sorry, but
Yeah.
that's the other thing. But there's the universal DH now.
Is there?
Oh, so this
I
is
don't
me.
follow.
Yeah.
I don't
I'm being
follow.
behind
I was
on
like,
that
I was thinking
part.
about. I was like, wait a second, wait,
Yeah,
no,
I am too.
no. The universal DH.
What does
went
that
into-
mean?
It means the
That
National
means
League has it.
everybody?
The National League has
They've
a DH
adopted the
since
same.
last year. Yeah. So
That's
there's
good. It's better for the game.
well, that's why
I
they
haven't
did it.
watched.
That's why they did it.
Man, I'm way behind.
I
bro.
mean, you know, that's why National League pitchers always went into the World Series looking like statistically looking so much better than American League pitchers, and then they'd get waxed in the World Series. I mean, you know, because it's like, well, yeah, 1 out of every 9 guys you face is not really there to hit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know, so you are ostensibly getting a relatively easy out every 3rd inning. You know what I mean?
So I would personally like. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear
There,
you. I lost the air,
Mahomes,
so I for a
Mahomes'
second.
dirty diaper. Listen, I would personally just like to start with one of the games I really nailed, which is the Patriots and the Steelers. Can we start there, guys?
Can we not talk about that game?
I mean, I just thought I picked that game perfectly.
I'm proud of
We
you.
don't have to. We don't have
Right.
to.
Go ahead.
These are
knock stuff out.
These games right here are the difference makers. These are the 2 and 3 percentage points difference at the end of the year. These types of games right here.
Sure. I mean, I like that game. That game was was a very hard game to pick because, my God, it was just.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I said I turned it on in the second half, and it was a good game in so much as good a game as it could be.
I don't
But it was,
believe
you know, just in that it was close and it was competitive. But, you know, we're just talking about 2 teams that are. I mean, Mitch Trubisky is just awful.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
as I said, I was. I'm sorry. This actually, and this is all I want to say about that game. I'm watching late in that game. Steelers are trying to drive to get back to get back in the game. Trubisky scrambles on a third down run, and he's about they marked him down 4th and 2, but I thought it was like a long one really. He was about a yard shy, and he went down voluntarily before he was touched. Meaning, if he had just pushed because
A little bit more,
they
yeah.
were closing in on him, but he had the first, like they had not yet made contact to just stretch your body out. You get that extra yard and you get the first down at a critical moment in the game. To voluntarily give yourself up like that, I have to say, it was just like, no, look, I mean, it just seemed like this guy's soft. He's a spineless.
He was the team leading rusher.
Okay, I'm hearing ghosts.
Yeah, he led the team in rushing with a touchdown.
Well, because he's scrambling for his life because that offensive line is awful. But like,
which is so sad that he's the leading rusher on the team.
I mean, he really though honestly, it was from what I watched, it was a pretty incompetent execution, and I just thought that was a spineless play. I mean, I understand these guys want to protect themselves. I mean, they have to protect themselves as an asset. They have to protect their careers, and I am, as you both know, 100%.
If I were Mitch, man, you got to be laying it out there. If I was Mitch, you got to be laying it out there.
I'm a labor guy. I mean, I think these guys have to. I get it. I really do. But in that case, in that situation, you're on a team that is ostensibly fighting for a playoff spot, and you can lunge for that first down and still minimize the damage your body takes, instead of just like, taking a seat. I really that was the play to me where I was just like, well, he doesn't really want to win. He doesn't care.
I refused to watch that game. I watched no highlights of that game. I didn't want to have anything to do with that garbage heap.
Yeah. No, it was, I mean, like I said,
it was garbage heap.
I had no intention of watching it, but then after I put the little one to bed, I came out, I was like, oh man, it's a close game. All right, I'm going to watch it. I'll watch the second half. So, all right. Let's talk about the game that blindsided me, and I actually have a lot to say about. The Jets Texans.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, first off, Zach Wilson. Hey, hats off to him. He had one of his annual 2 or 3 good games.
Yeah, he did. He had a really good game.
I mean, the best thing about Wilson being in there, at least from a fantasy perspective, is that if he's there, Garrett Wilson is going to get the ball because Zach Wilson will target him all day.
And
well, he spread the ball out really nicely that game. I kind of root for this guy nowadays. I mean, Zach Wilson's been crapped on so much. I got to root for the guy.
Are you going to be a fan of Bryce Young too while we're at it? Because these are the people that Brian just shits all over.
Hey, look, Zach Wilson, any guy that routinely and instinctively scrambles backwards is a problem. I mean, it's a problem. I mean, I'm just like,
it is a problem, but man,
we heard your rant.
he had like a perfect game, man. He hit a bunch of different receivers. He did definitely target Wilson for sure.
He does. That's one thing he will do. Is, I mean, like, again, as a fantasy football player, if Zach Wilson's going to play, then at least Garrett Wilson is not going to be wasted. Who knows what will happen with Breece Hall? But like, there are. Let's be honest. There are 2 skill position players on the Jets that you might want on your fantasy team, other than maybe the defense. So 3 if you count the defense. You've got Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, and there's nobody else you would touch with a 10-foot pole. I mean, maybe Conklin is a tolerable fill-in on a bye week when you're desperate, but that's about it.
What happens if he comes in and plays like that though every week? That's a really good team.
It does. Yeah. No. Well, the defense is so good.
It's not like we haven't seen him play before. Like,
but I haven't seen him. Maybe I missed him. I don't think I've ever seen him have really, really good.
No,
games,
he had another great game earlier in the season.
I'm sure
we're like, oh, maybe he's putting it together.
The Jets they're the team that beat like the Eagles, right?
Right.
Yes. I mean, that was his other big win.
And he had a great game.
Yeah, and honestly, it didn't tell me a whole lot about the Texans because with Nico Collins and Tank Dell both being down, and then C.J. Stroud going out with a concussion. I don't remember when that took place.
That was late.
It changes the whole team, though, even without those 2 receivers. Like, that offense isn't nearly the same offense.
Well, I wanted to say that because, I thought I was curious what Tank Dell's absence was going to do because he is the take the top off the defense guy. And without that, and so last week, Stroud like never missed a beat. It was like nothing. I mean, I think last week Nico had something like 170 yards receiving. And so it was like, So that's the game plan moving forward. And we've seen Noah Brown have big games, like, so it's like, well, if Nico's covered, then maybe Noah Brown can fill in that space. But they just changed the game plan. They can't go deep. They just have to take what the defense gives them. But
Collins got hurt too, like in that game.
He went out early in the first quarter, and that was the thing. Once Collins was gone, there was no offense, just nothing.
Brown hasn't since he's come back from injury. Brown hasn't got a catch. Like, it's 2 weeks in a row now.
Yeah, no, it's right. Noah Brown is, again, I mean, like, he's not. There's no expectation that he would be in every game big hitter, but he has shown himself to be a guy over a long career, a guy who can, come up with big plays here and there, not necessarily be the guy, but like, if the guy is double covered all day, that creates some space for Brown to operate, and he, can take advantage of that. Once Collins went out, and that was early, Brown, Brown
Schultz was hurt too, right?
And Schultz was hurt. So, it was like, there's just no depth on that team. And so Stroud, he didn't go out until late, but like, he threw for 90 yards. Yeah. Nothing to work with.
Yeah.
So, again, it continues to be a great story, but obviously this team, utterly lacks depth. Once you get through the skin, once you peel the orange, as they say, there's just nothing.
They're still in the thick of it, though.
Yeah,
they need to get some people back though, or else they're not going to be for long.
And I think, with no Tank Dell, I don't think Noah Brown scares anybody. You know what I mean? So you just double Nico, and you make it. Again, if they get Nico and Schultz back, then maybe you at least have that. Again, Brown is kind of a poor man's Gabe Davis with half the talent. Well, you know what I mean? Like, he's a guy who can show up for you, make some big catches. He's,
Sure.
Nelson Aguilar-esque. But if that's the guy you're relying on, you're probably in trouble. Or Alan Lazard.
Sure.
Guys that are nice to have on your team, but you don't want them. You want them as your third wide receiver for a reason. You know what I mean? You don't want them.
I can't believe they paid Lazard $40 million. Like, that's insane to me.
Well, I think that's Aaron Rodgers doing.
Of course it is. Did he even have a catch last week? No,
he hasn't had a lot of catches this season. But
like, he's not, and they're all going to blame it on Rodgers not being there, which there's some validity to that. But
there's a lot of validity.
Very little catches. Like,
yeah. Well, again, I think Lazard is a really nice compliment to Garrett Wilson if you've got consistency at quarterback, but you just don't have that. Anyway,
all I know is that is one that Mikey the Greek did not get right. Like, so we can't let that slide either. Oh, he's like,
which one?
The Jets.
The Jets and the Texans.
Did any of us get that right? I don't even know.
We both did. Yeah.
Oh, did we? Okay.
I didn't expect to win, honestly, but I didn't, and I definitely didn't expect what I saw. I just figured it'd be a close game.
Yeah, and the Jets defense is so good. They are so good.
Oh yeah.
So it's actually pretty scary. They are the team that, like, going into next season will be could be really a real surprise. They've got just a ton of talent on the defensive side of the ball, and really all it would require is a bit of competence on the offense.
A lot of what ifs on that team this year.
Yeah.
Like, what if Rodgers didn't go down? That could be a solid team.
And speaking of what ifs, I'd say, the Panthers are sitting around wondering, what if we had taken CJ Stroud instead of Bryce Young? Because I'm sorry, I'm a broken record. This guy,
we know it's time for Brian's rant of the week on why Bryce Young's a bad quarterback.
Well, I know he's little. He can't see the coverage. We get
it. He's slow. He doesn't run very fast. He's tiny. He can't.
If you're little and you're slow, forget about it. The fact that he even made it this far should be just an accomplishment. Retire, call it a day, go get a job.
Well, I would say this: if he had gone to any school other than Alabama, he wouldn't be in the NFL.
Oh, correct.
Well, I shouldn't say wouldn't be in the NFL. He wouldn't have been drafted in the first round. He wouldn't be a starter. You know what I mean? He might have. If he had gone to any other school.
We'll have to add it to next week, Mike. We'll have to remember that one.
But
I will say one thing, and I'm not disputing that CJ Stroud is a better player, better quarterback, better fit, all that. but he's got a shit pile more weapons than Bryce Young does. And CJ Stroud looked pretty pedestrian this week
with no
when
weapons.
he did not have his weapons. So, like, it's hard to put all this on Bryce Young. I think, until they have more than just Adam Thielen to throw to, like, let's see what he can do. And a better coach, quite frankly, because they're in transition too.
Yeah. No, fair point. I mean,
I'm not saying he's the second coming or anything like that. I'm just saying
he might be competent. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying who knows? I mean, it's too early to say. Like he does look lost to me. I don't dispute that.
Yeah.
Like he looks lost.
He looks worse today. He looked worse this week than he looked in like week 3, week 4. And that is
for his life too, though. That's
I was going to say that is concerning. Like it is concerning that he seems to be getting worse week to week. I don't care what the numbers might say. I know Mike likes to look at the stats, say, "Oh, I threw for 200 yards, 230 yards, or whatever." Yeah, well, but that doesn't it doesn't matter. If you're throwing 230 yards against a prevent defense that doesn't care, sure. Like I could throw for 230 yards against, a soft defense up 4 scores. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's true, but that's fine.
It's probably not true, but
the point state, you would probably throw further than me because you're just purely taller.
But that's the thing. Unlike Bryce Young, I can see over the line. So I mean, I feel confident I could hit a guy on a 6-yard slant. Maybe
it would be picked off because you're just throwing it 3 feet behind him because you didn't get it out fast enough.
Nah. A 6-yard slant, a 10-yard slant, I'd throw it behind him, but a 6-yard slant, I could hit him. I mean, again, I don't have an elite arm. That is for sure.
I do. But, I do. I have a cannon. Let me tell you something. Last 2 years ago, I had a throwing contest. Right. Just in my house.
What's a throwing contest? Can we start with that?
Long ball. Whoever could throw the ball the farthest, and we had it yardage laid out and everything. So I won with a 45-yard bomb. This was just a couple years ago. Now, 45 doesn't sound like a long way.
No, 45-yard. That's a long throw. I mean,
it's pretty long.
For an old timer. For an old timer, with degenerative disc disease or whatever, is going on. I'm sure. The last time I tried to throw a full size football any long distance, it's a couple of years ago, and I think my arm went farther than the ball did. I needed him to throw my arm back to me and get it back in its socket. But yeah, no, there was a time where I could throw a nice pass, but and I mean, I used to. I mean, like all of us, back when when I was at least a slightly more of a physical specimen, I could throw a football pretty well. I could throw a baseball from center field to home plate without a bounce. But a football I could still throw pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every third throw was pretty. The other 2 were ducks, but the third one, nice looking pass. Anyway, all right. So yeah, the Saints get the win, but man, I'll tell you, this is Derek Carr looks so bad. I mean, obviously, like he doesn't have to look good, but I feel like I can't figure out how I was so wrong about Derek Carr coming into this season. I've watched him with the Raiders, and all I've thought watching him with the Raiders was, man, this guy has talent. He just needs more of a team around him. He needs a better O-line. He needs this. He needs that. But you could see him. He'd make great throws here and there. But let me tell you, I don't know if it's just he just took too many hits over the years, and now he's got the same syndrome his brother, sort of had when he left Houston and went to the Giants, and basically just looked like a World War I veteran who'd just been listening to shells explode next to him all day for for like 3 straight years. He just completely shell shocked, like the wide eyes and the fast blinking. I mean, David Carr was like a shell of his former self when he went to the Giants. Maybe that's just where Derek Carr is at this point, just too many hits, and he's just I mean, I was trying to be patient because he's learned a new offense and all that stuff, but he just
But they haven't really been good though offensively since Sean Payton left. and I'm not putting it all on the head coach and the offensive play calling, but there has to be some factor in that. And this week they were really banged up. They're another team that's very banged up on the offensive side of the ball. Right. They've got their running backs in Olave, but outside of that, everybody else I think is hurt, except for Jimmy Graham, who caught another touchdown. So the OG Jimmy G is back.
I mean, he is he's like Parham for the Chargers, like a nice guy to have in your toolkit. You're down on the 3-4 yard line, gives you the pass option, that short pass option. Because he's 3 inches taller than any D back. So, it's nice.
Yeah. He's still got great hands. He just can't. He just give him time to get there.
Just can't run more than a 12-yard route. I'm being generous. I'm being generous on the 12 yards. Yeah, no. No, I think the other thing with the Saints is, and I'm sorry, I know I'm dwelling on some of these bad games, but the thing with the Saints that bugs me as well, or Derek Carr in particular, is like watching him berating his players, his teammates on the sideline. Have you seen
Derek Carr?
Like
I haven't seen him do it now.
Yeah, I mean, look, hey, quarterbacks do this, right? Like they get in a guy's face and they're like,
"Goat used to do it all the time." Marino.
And like that's fine when you're Dan Marino, but it's fine when you're Dan Marino and you're backing it up on the field. You know what I mean? But I'm like, who is Derek Carr? I mean, if I'm anybody on that team and Derek Carr is getting in my face and saying like calling me out for screwing up, I'm like, who are you? Like, who are you? Like, what are you kidding me? I mean, is this a joke? And he seems like he's pissed off all the time at someone. So it's just like, and again, I mean,
he's
whatever.
Mad at himself for going to the New Orleans team. So.
Maybe. I generally I see that as a sign of a guy who's competitive, really competitive, and wants to like elevate his teammates. I mean, I don't know what he's saying. I mean, except for when you can read his lips, but I don't know what he's saying. I don't know his relationship with those guys, and what I mean. So I can only speculate. But for me, for my money, I'm looking at this guy going, who do you think you are talking to anybody about their play? I just don't get it. I feel like this is a team that I don't know. I feel like they might stumble into the playoffs, but they are cooked round one when they have to face either the Eagles or the Cowboys.
I don't think they even stumble into the playoffs. Like their defense is clearly a really good defense. Because statistically, offensively, they are not moving the ball, and to put up 28 points only. I didn't watch tons of that game because Carolina's unwatchable. They're pretty tough to watch, so I didn't watch that game. But when you just look at the stats and look at the offense, it's like, or then go to like I go to NFL and I read through the possessions to see what they do, and you can see it. It's like there's turnovers or short punts and all these things that set that offense to not have to move the ball very far.
Sure. I mean, Derek Carr finishes that game where they score 28 points with 119 yards passing. I mean, it's pretty,
I don't.
Tells you everything you need to know.
And they're not going to win their division. Like Atlanta and Tampa are both better teams than they are.
Yeah, it's but it doesn't matter because they're that whole division is so mediocre. There's wins to be plucked out of the sky.
But when you look at who's trending in the right direction, I feel like Atlanta's trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
And really, Tampa's always a wild card in every game. They're a fun team to watch. They may not win all of those games, but they're fun to watch.
Sure. Yeah, this was speaking of, let's move on to that Tampa Atlanta game. A game that probably will have some implications, but like that was a bizarre game. I mean, Baker throws hardly at all. But he had,
Baker's a cake maker.
But he plays clean.
Yep.
And Ritter comes out and does something I didn't think Ritter was capable of and throws for like 350 yards. Oof. Drake London was what, like 170, 175, something?
Wow, 10 catches.
Yeah.
10 catches, which is what we've been saying all along. Like
long catches.
They need to get the ball in this guy's hands. Kyle Pitts was used a little bit more. I mean, I still think this is a guy that should be touching the ball 8 times a game, but
I agree.
But whatever. They seem to be getting him more involved. He found the end zone again. Or I think he did. Didn't Pitts get a touchdown? I think he did.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The other thing that I was going to point out is, I don't know if you guys saw this. I read this today. Their offensive line, 3 of their starters are down.
Yeah.
Like, so their offensive line, which could be why they're throwing the ball and not running the ball as much.
Yeah.
But it was like, but against Tampa, like that's their weak spot. So
Sure.
part of me wants to go, did they actually game plan and realize, no, they're weaker against the pass, so let's do this?
Yeah, probably.
Probably not. I
No,
don't think
probably.
they did, because if they were that good at making adjustments, they wouldn't be a 6-7 team. Like, so I just think it was a coincidence that they went, we aren't going to have the holes or the time because the offensive line's so banged up. So let's get the ball out quicker and try to let our talent make the plays. Because like even the running backs were getting involved in the passing game. Like everybody was.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Bijan's been, been catching passes. But yeah,
sure.
they, again, I think, I've said before, but I think Arthur Smith's got to go.
Yes.
I mean,
that's
I think
kind of what I mean by that is like, I don't think he game planned this. Like, I'd love to give him that credit, but I think it was just like victim of circumstance, right? It's offensive line injuries. So what do we do?
Well, I'm looking at, I'm looking at the Falcons and thinking about, next year, do they go and get like, a Gardner Minshew? Do they go out and get a Atlanta? Do they go out and get a Kirk Cousins? No.
Cousins, maybe not Minshew. I don't think he's a step up over Ritter.
Okay. Or Browning, go make a play for Browning in Cincinnati.
He keeps playing the way he is.
I
mean, he's writing a paycheck right now. He's starting to boost that salary.
Sure.
You talking about Atlanta?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I would keep, I would keep Ritter.
over Cousins?
Of course not, but there's a lot at play there. Like Ritter's, I'm sure is going to be a ton cheaper than Cousins.
For sure.
Well, I mean,
Ritter's, I'm sure, a lot younger.
Ritter's on his rookie contract, so yeah, you've got time.
I think Cousins might be done.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I mean, this is a guy blowing the Viking horn all year.
And I do, and I love Cousins too. I'm a big Cousins guy. But with that injury at his age, I just don't see him coming back and being more – I don't see him coming back and being to the level he is now at all. And I don't think he's going to come back. And if I were a team, I wouldn't sign him to be my number one. If this guy Ritter – listen, if this guy Ritter could come in and play like this, then why go out and try to bring other people in is my philosophy.
Because he does it 1 out of 10 games.
Right.
And you want more consistency than that so you can make a playoff run.
No, you're correct with that. You're correct with that if you can't develop this guy. Right.
I do think the coaching staff has done it. Like the head coach specifically doesn't really put them in a good spot. But I don't he's a kid that needs quite a bit more development. And maybe he's got a future, but he needs more development still. But they are really change the quarterback out to a good quarterback.
So and
that's a really good team.
So here's the guy I really wanted to lead to. What about Justin Fields?
I don't think he's leaving.
Well,
no, they're not going to let him leave. Are you
crazy? Think about it. They're going to get a wagon for that first pick. They're because of the hype around this quarterback class, they're going to be somebody out there who sends them a haul for that pick, and they're going to be like, that's fine, we'll just take Harrison instead. They're just going to draft a receiver or a high quality player that way. I bet you they keep Fields. He's playing great.
I really like Fields, to be honest with you.
So the thing about Fields is I think they're going to fire Eberflus. And Fields, I mean, the GM, Ryan Poles, this is not a Ryan Poles pick. Now, look, Poles, I mean, I give the guy credit. As a GM, he absolutely just raked the Panthers over the coals, taking DJ Moore and their first round pick. It's for them to get Bryce Young
and their buddies. That's the other thing. Fields and Moore have become buddies.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't really matter. So I think, it might be hard to let go of Fields. However, I think that, you look at Fields and you go, okay, I'm not sure if this is a guy that can win you a Super Bowl. I don't know if he is. He certainly has elite athleticism. The guy, he's playing great,
Sure.
but he doesn't make all the throws. It's hard to know if he can grow into that. And now look, I don't think you can I don't think you're going to get a first round pick for Justin Fields. I think you're going to get a third or a fourth round pick if you trade him away. But hey, look, Ryan Poles pulled off an absolute fleecing with the DJ Moore and Panther. I mean, that deal was ridiculous. He also traded for Chase Claypool, which was a disaster. So,
Sure.
But that said, I mean, not everybody hits a home run on every pitch, but he certainly hit 2 home runs with the DJ Moore deal. And I think maybe Ryan Poles, maybe you look at getting Caleb Williams or Bo Nix or one of these, Drake May, and you go, all right, we're going to start something brand new GM, new head coach, new quarterback, new face of the franchise, start it all fresh and build something special from the ground up as the GM. Build something, you start your own project. You build around a new guy. And if you can get a 3rd round pick, or who knows, maybe you can get a 2nd round pick from Atlanta. Maybe you can get a 4th round pick and Desmond Ridder, so you have a backup to Drake May or to Bo Nix or those are the 3 I assume, or Caleb Williams. You know what I mean? Maybe you do something like that. Who knows? But Justin Fields in Atlanta feels like an awfully good fit.
So I'm gonna counter this, because all that's valid. So Justin Fields moves on, and he's no better than he is today. But he's a exciting, serviceable quarterback.
Sure.
Just to keep the parallel, right?
Sure.
And you trade for that, you decide to take one of those quarterbacks and they swing and completely miss. You're done as GM.
Sure.
You're out.
Okay.
However, you hold on to Justin Fields, trade that number 1 pick for a wagon of picks or players or things to better that team. And if Fields doesn't improve, you are still the GM of that team, and you can make that same decision in a different year. I just think it's a lot riskier to swing and miss than it is to go with the thing that is.
He ain't going nowhere.
He's improving. Like, he's getting better. And me at the beginning of the season, I'm like, I don't believe in Ohio State quarterbacks. It's just not my thing. I don't think they've been successful, and history has proven that. CJ Stroud is proving me wrong, and Fields is starting to do the same.
He's got 1 year left on his rookie deal.
Yep, I think you see that out. I think you see that out and then decide.
Well, that's the thing. You can get nothing for him next year. You can get something for him this year.
You have to, because what's the deal? Don't you have to sign him, or he becomes a free agent, right? So you have to sign him.
Pick up the 5th year option.
Isn't next year the 5th year?
I'm not sure.
Because they don't want him to become a free agent. I'm assuming.
Well, you'd want to.
They'd rather lock him in.
I don't. Again, I don't.
Unless they don't think they're gonna. No one's gonna offer him. But I disagree. I think he's gonna get a lot of offers.
Yeah, next year. You're right. Next year is the 4th year. Next year is the 4th year, so they would have that 5th year option.
So they got 2 years to still evaluate him and try and develop him. And let's keep in mind that means he's in his 3rd season.
Oh,
he's legit.
That kid is incredibly exciting for in his 3rd season. And
I had him on my fantasy league this year and last year.
This is not about whether or not he is talented. It's not about that at all.
He's producing.
I think you keep him and the talent then you put around him, because arguably they've not had it till they got DJ Moore. But they've had, these guys that like half the people can't even name unless you play fantasy sitting around him, and they're running backs. Like, I don't care. Khalil Herbert is not like a stellar running back. He's
Deontay Foreman is still the most consistent option. But I think Roschon Johnson looks like he might be all right. They just haven't figured out how to use him yet.
Exactly. But who is it? Mooney? Is their best wide receiver before DJ Moore got there? This is kind of the same as the Bryce Young conversation, except Bryce Young, I don't think, would have done that much better with DJ Moore by comparison, because Fields is a more dynamic player.
Sure.
I think that was the intent with Claypool, was we're trying to boost the talent around him, and it was just a miss. I think
Claypool was
if you can get that next not diva, that's the wrong way to classify it, but get that next skill position that now builds that offense, better consistent running game, and a coach that can call it. Like, put Ben Johnson as the head coach there.
I mean, I agree. I think an offensive-minded head coach would be that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would be well served by an offensive-minded head coach.
And their defense is playing incredible right now.
Ever since they got Montez Sweat.
That's why that's part of the thing for me too, though, is wait a minute, we don't need as much help on the defense as we think. We're a lot closer than we think we are too.
Yeah.
And so maybe instead build around him as opposed to, and because you can get so much talent that way, offensive line talent if you need to, like skill positions, like there's a lot to be had.
Well, I think that I think that in a normal year, I think that everything you're saying makes sense. But given that both Caleb Williams and Drake May, both of these guys are, and Bo Nix, I mean, whatever, the scouting on Bo Nix is a little more spottier, but a little spottier, not more spottier, but you know what I mean. Caleb Williams, by all metrics, seems to be an absolutely generational talent. And I mean, just yes, of course, there's a variable
He's
there.
been found human in a few games this year.
He has indeed. And Drake May seems to be as close to a sure thing as I've seen. Looks like it's. I know.
We hear it every year.
Well,
we hear it every year.
We don't exactly. We don't exactly. We have heard it about some guys. We've heard it about guys. I mean, we heard it about Josh Allen. We heard it about
Ryan Leaf. Yes,
that's a long time ago.
Jamarcus Russell, like it's the problem is we live in the era of media.
We didn't hear that. We did not hear that about Jamarcus Russell. Jamarcus Russell. Everyone knows Jamarcus Russell played an outstanding run to the national championship game, and that was it. He played like 6 great games in his college career. He was not really special before then.
It was a physical
he went on
beast.
maybe 8 games. It was he went on a run where he seemed invincible. We've
was
seen just about
LSU.
every
Did he play
quarterback
for
has done
LSU?
that. He played for LSU, and they won the national championship.
Since you like him so much, how about Bryce Young? Like,
Well,
you know what I mean? Like there's these kids that come out with hype, and I think we live in the era of media needing to be
there's
the
always
first person to be right
it's a little
about
different
something.
There's always hype, but there were one real quick. There's always hype, but there were a lot of people looking at Bryce Young and saying, "This guy's too small. This guy doesn't have any elite skills." Like,
sure.
So
that's the opposite to me of I need to be the first one right about the guy too. I also need to be the guy that was right about criticizing the guy. You always are getting both opinions on all these players.
Sure. No,
it's like, and it just annoys me because it puts so much pressure. Baker Mayfield was this guy. Puts so much pressure on him.
But even with Baker Mayfield, yeah, incredible in a system where it's designed to put up 70 points a game. And what were the concerns about Mayfield? He's on the small side. He's a bit takes too many risks. He doesn't make good decisions when he's under a little bit of pressure. He makes bad decisions. Like those were the knocks on Mayfield. Well, what are the knocks on Caleb Williams?
I haven't really watched enough of him for me to tell you. But Mark Sanchez, Johnny Manziel, Matt Leinart, like there's tons of these guys that came in.
All of those guys. None of those guys were considered generational talent. None of those guys. They were all considered quality prospects.
Manziel was a bust from the beginning. I don't know how anyone didn't see that coming.
No, we're all in agreement on that one. He has a couple of exciting games against Alabama, and that was about it.
Any GM, I was like, how in the hell is this guy making it to the NFL? His shoulder pads are too small. He's too small. He doesn't play the right game. It's going to be a terrible thing. It's not going to work. Now, listen, before we move on to the next game, since it's a horse race, let's pick. Who do you guys pick for winning the South this year? 3-way tie for first place right now.
Yeah. Do you have the schedule in front of you the rest of the way?
I do.
No, I do not.
I've got it. So Tampa is at Green Bay, home to Jacksonville, at home to New Orleans, and on the road to Carolina. Atlanta is at Carolina, home to Indy, at Chicago, on the road to New Orleans. And then and then New Orleans is at home to the Giants, on the road to the Rams, at home to Tampa, on the road to Tampa, and at home and against Atlanta.
I'm going to say the Falcons.
Yes. No, actually, I'd probably go Tampa.
I don't like Tampa's path.
Me too.
What's that?
Tampa.
Yeah, I don't like Tampa's path.
I'm going with Baker
I
the
don't-
cake maker, baby.
Wait, hold on. So you like Indianapolis, Chicago, who has been playing well. Now, New
No.
Orleans is a crapshoot. We don't know what to, and they've got to win against Carolina. Like we'll just,
Right.
but Tampa at Green Bay, that's a 50-50 game to me.
Yeah,
which
but
we'll get to that.
Tampa plays terrible in Green Bay in winter, but yeah.
Jacksonville at home. Jacksonville is not the same team, but I'd still give them the edge.
Yeah.
New Orleans,
I'm gonna throw
at
in-
home, they should win that, and they will win against Carolina. So they get 2 wins too.
Okay,
Yeah.
real quick, just to throw one more thing in as we're talking about divisions and winning. I made a declaration many weeks ago. I'm just going to say it right now. The
God.
Vikings are only 2 games out of first. There's I think what four weeks left right now. Vikings are in a 1-week win streak. Lions are not looking good, guys. And it's only a 2-game difference. So I'm just throwing that in there.
By the
There
way,
might be
I
many
love-
memes. There might be
Oh my
many
God.
memes of
I
horns.
love that I love that you're leaning into the Vikings after they just won 3-0. Like there is just something
Yeah.
special about
Those are the
right
games
now.
that propel you. Those are the games that propel you.
Oh my
That
gosh.
was the worst game.
Oh,
I
Can
was
we not talk about it at all?
yeah.
Other
Well,
than
no,
want to take
it
a
was
shower.
terrible.
I don't
gotta
wanna
take a
talk about the
shower
game.
and talk
Okay.
about it.
but I want to talk about Josh Dobbs throwing ICU balls. I mean, this guy, how did we watch him in Arizona and then go to Minnesota?
Listen,
And yeah, I mean, I might take the Bucks too. That's a coin toss. I mean,
It's 50-50
everybody's taking
between
the Bucks.
the two.
I'll take the Bucks with you. Well, I'll take the Falcons just to be different. You guys are both taking the Bucks, so I'll take the
Then
Falcons.
one of us needs to take New Orleans, except they've got 1 win out of those 4.
I mean, New Orleans has a tough road. I don't like their path.
Yeah, I don't either.
yes.
They're too backed up.
Nicky
yeah,
Mullins is in. Nicky Mullins is starting.
I know.
He's
of
starting
course.
over Dobbs.
No,
That
I
is
know because
not a good thing.
because Dobbs
Nicky Mullins went 9 for 13. Nicky Mullins has some
Dobbs
has some
sent
good.
Justin Jefferson to the hospital. Dobbs sent Justin Jefferson to the hospital. Like
That's why he got benched. Yes.
that was an ICU ball.
Yeah.
mean, that was
ICU ball.
Yeah, straight
Yeah,
to the
he
invention.
put him
Is,
out.
is Jefferson okay?
He's day to day. I mean,
Yeah.
but
Concussed?
Dobbs threw several
No,
of those
it's a
ICU
chest
balls.
injury.
He threw one to Osborne. He just doesn't have the arm. So when he's, I mean, again, like when he's trying to throw he's trying to throw these guys over the middle, and he just his arm. I don't know how.
So why wasn't this exposed earlier? I don't watch the Vikings.
I think because he was throwing a lot of screens and he was throwing a lot outside the numbers. So you're not leaving a guy hanging out to be killed outside the numbers. But
And the Raiders D has been, that's the one thing about the Raiders that's actually been playing halfway decent. And so they probably came after him in a way that a lot of teams haven't been. Max Crosby is close to setting the Raiders record for the season in sacks.
Yeah.
So,
And I mean, Dobbs can do some special things when he gets out and scrambles and runs around. But man, watching him
This
throw
guy,
the ball
Nicky-
over the middle is like, oh my God, he's going to get somebody killed.
This guy Nicky's had a decent run with the Niners
Mullins
when needed.
Mullins is a
He's fine.
competent quarterback.
he's
Yeah.
fine. He's a back.
Yeah,
He's a competent quarterback.
Mhm.
He's not,
doesn't
you
look
know,
terrible.
yeah. I mean, you know,
It's okay.
I
They're
hope
gonna lose
I
this
hope the Vikings don't
Well-
make the playoffs just because it's just bad football to watch. I mean,
I
just
mean,
bad to
they're a
watch.
train wreck. I get it. They're a train wreck. But I'm
know.
just so if the NFL was a stock market, I'm shorting the Detroit Lions. That's just what I'm saying. So
Yeah,
You
well,
won't
the
get any
Lions-
argument from me right
The
now.
Lions have struggled ever since the Ravens exposed them.
yeah,
Their defense specifically has been the thing that has massively changed.
And
yeah.
well, and also we're seeing Jared Goff in cold weather, and he is bad,
Mhm.
historically bad in cold weather. And you know, you're in the NFC North, buddy. Like,
All right, where are we going from there?
let's go. Let's talk about hometown hero Joe Flacco
Oh,
and the Browns.
and I definitely want to talk about this.
Joey Flacco playing like he's 28.
He
looks
said it in the locker room. He
looks
said it in the locker room. Did you
fantastic.
hear that speech?
He's on the practice squad again.
Well,
the best
good.
part.
but they've also named him they named the starter for
know.
the season. It's so bizarre. What
It's
I think is
weird.
funny is that he could sign with another team if he wanted to.
Who's
Because
It's
that?
kind
on
of
the
like
practice
why?
squad.
Because the Browns. That's why.
Who,
Like
who's on the practice squad?
No, it's a salary.
Flacco.
It's the way they do the salary thing.
Yeah,
It's
Flacco
so
is
they
back on the practice squad, but they haven't a starter the rest
Got
of the year.
they basically
I love
save
it.
money, I think, by doing that. I'm not sure
That's
how that
awesome.
works, but I think they save money.
What a game! What a game the guy had. Now let me ask you, because I didn't watch it. Did he have it as check down Joe? Meaning,
No.
did he hit?
No.
I'm just looking.
No.
Was his receiving? No,
He
you're right.
looked
Well,
legit. He looked
he used
better
he
than
used his
Watson has all year.
Yeah.
he used his
Yeah,
tight
it
end
was
like he did in Baltimore. That's for sure.
Well, that was a weird game because both tight ends were just like were like the weapons,
Mhm.
on each team. Like Njoku. I mean, he had
Crazy
almost
chart.
100 yards, almost 100. Evan Engram
2
had almost
touchdowns.
100. They both had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, we've said all year that Browns defense is going to keep them in games if they could just get competent quarterback play.
Yep.
And the thing about Joe is he's rested. He's not banged up. He's not been beaten around all
Now,
year.
let me
he's still in
ask
good
you
shape.
something.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. Would you be completely suicidal because they're going to be a wild card team if Joe Flacco ends the Ravens season in the playoffs?
I mean,
Because that's a possibility.
Sure, that would suck.
Because I might actually want to run my head into a wall.
You know, I won't be because we're going to have the 1 seed, and of course, then again, we might run into them later. But
they're a good team. They'll win.
They are a good team.
They're a very good defense. They lack a few weapons on offense. Which I think is fine.
They look great.
Yeah, well, sure.
Meaning
question.
with that defense, that is exactly who Joe needs to be for them. Mm-hmm. Don't turn the ball over, but keep that other team's defense honest.
Sure.
Until somebody cracks it. That's going to be the big question.
I think that's the thing. I mean, Joe, I mean, he's not ancient or anything. But he is like 30, 36, 38.
He's 38.
38. I mean, a couple of hard sacks, and Joe's 38-year-old body isn't gonna really
I'll tell you
feel
what,
like a 28-year-old anymore.
I take that back. If that happened, God forbid, that somehow we met them and Joe Flacco ended the Ravens, I would cheer harder for him than I would ever have cheered for anyone in my life, because I would love to see him do something like he did with us, like another historic run, and then just walk off into the sunset.
I feel a little bit the same way. If that's how it worked out, I probably will pull for Flack. I'll be pulling for the Browns the rest of the way.
How could you not? I mean, he's a great guy. He's an awesome dude.
I have a soft spot in my heart for Joe.
I do too.
I feel like it
frustrated the shit out of me a lot of times.
Oh,
don't get me wrong.
couldn't stand the fact that he never looked like he cared one iota. Throw a kick six. He's standing on the sideline like big smile.
All he needed was the Jay Cutler cigarette. That's all he needed was a Jay Cutler cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
Jay Cutler. Yeah.
Because he's the other one that had the same reaction. Like,
couldn't care
am
less.
I here? He's looking like into the crowd. Like, he's like, am I here? Like, where am I going? Is it 0-0-0 yet on the clock? Like, can I leave?
That's why he lost his job in Baltimore, though. Like, is because he just didn't ever. He did seem like he stopped caring.
Well,
I
thought didn't help when he was like, when they brought in Lamar and they were like, are you going to be a mentor to this quarterback? He's like, that's not my job.
And then the shit fit, the pout show he would throw when he had to line up at wide receiver where they would do that shit. He used to fucking throw a fit, and you could tell he was like, I don't like this. Stop it.
You know what's really funny? Sorry, but hold on. Do you guys remember? I'm going to test your memory. When Flacco was either his rookie or second season, and I can't even remember who it was, but where he lined up as a wideout, and whoever it was that took the snap, I don't even remember who it was. It might have been Ricky Williams, if I'm going back and remembering. It might have been Ricky Williams, took the snap and threw a bomb downfield to Joe, who was wide open because they hadn't even bothered to cover him because it's like, this is a decoy. Hit him, but just catching the ball and trying to run with it, Joe stumbled over his own feet and fell at like the 3-yard line and didn't get the score. In what should have been an easy touchdown, but he just couldn't he couldn't sustain himself to run 60 yards without falling over. But I remember
He's
it was
a
like
good athlete too. He's a really good
I
athlete.
mean, he wasn't fast by any means. He wasn't
Not
quick
fast.
by any means.
No,
But like, I just remember that one time he caught that pass, and it was like, I mean, nobody saw it coming. And then I think it was like the last time he happily lined up his wide receiver. Any other time, the rest of his career, he was just like, I mean, just yeah.
But I don't know if you,
over there.
I don't know if you remember that when he first came in, when what's his face got hurt, he had that 24-yard run for a touchdown or something like that. I think it was like 20 something yards, and the place was going ballistic. And that was when he kind of started and never kind of looked back after that.
Sure.
So he started his career with a nice like scramble, but you're right. And he would frustrate me kind of like what you say, Brian, about Zach when he turns around and runs the wrong direction.
Yeah.
I think Flacco used to do that a lot and used to piss me off. Whenever he would get pressured, he would end up facing the wrong way. And I was like, why are you like scramble and do something? He would frustrate me in many ways, many ways. Check down Joe was a lot of very frustrating years when he became check down Joe. After the Super Bowl, he became check down Joe, where it was like he would end up with like 300, and the stats would look really, really great.
His stats never looked really great, but that's all right.
Check down the Rice, check down to the tight end, check down the Rice, check down to the tight end. Mm-hmm. It was never a down the field to the wide receiver ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. I just looked it up. It was a 43-yard reception as a rookie.
Really?
They would look.
I remember it, but I don't remember who threw it.
I'm hold on, gentlemen. Hold on, gentlemen.
You just can't let go of the knot, can you?
I cannot let go of this. Let's see here,
gentlemen.
All right, you ready?
Oh God.
God, what do you think?
Who was that receiver? Who is number? I don't remember who that was.
Troy Smith.
Joe.
Oh, of course Flacco. That explains. That's right, because it was the quarterback that threw the ball.
I mean, that is kind of a good catch, though.
Oh, it was a good catch, no question.
That was a really good catch.
That's the funniest thing is his inability to stay on his feet.
On the other side of the ball, real quick, like I am stunned that Trevor Lawrence played.
Yeah,
after what we saw last week.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Like, and he actually played halfway decent. They look like they missed Christian Kirk.
High ankle sprain.
Yeah, but the Browns D is no joke, and they put up 27 points at the Browns. Like that's not like it's not a bad outing considering they're missing Kirk too, right? So
yeah,
I'm just so surprised he played.
That guy has won my respect forever, and he threw the ball 50 fucking times.
Yeah,
he had a really good fucking game.
Yeah, I was really surprised.
3 picks, but he had a good game.
Still, calling that a high ankle sprain seems like misleading. Then, whatever that was, whatever happened there was.
He looked like he was in pain, and from what I understand, a high ankle sprain is usually like 2 to 3 weeks minimum.
Minimum.
Yeah.
High ankle sprains are usually like 3-4 weeks. And yeah, so he didn't miss a single game.
I guarantee you they shot him up with a lot of cortisone or whatever the hell they fucking use. Cortisone.
Of course they did.
What it is.
A lot of something.
At right before the game and at half, I swear to you, they have to.
So let's stay in the AFC North for a minute and talk about the Bengals. I mean
the Bungles.
So I'm going to say this again, even though you guys don't like to hear me say it. Browning he makes that offense flow in a very different and almost better way. All of the pieces are in rhythm. And with Burrow, it all has to run through him. And I ran this by a buddy of mine who's a Bengal fan in Cincinnati. And he goes, I made the statement to him, and he goes, no, actually, I think you're right about that. Now, he also agrees, not a better quarterback.
Yeah.
Just talking a better system guy
right. Yeah,
for that team.
Yeah. For that team.
Like, they're they look really good. And I don't know what happened to the Colts running game, but I mean, Zach Moss did great. I don't know why I said Zach Morris there, Saved by the Bell. Anyway, Zach Moss ran great, right?
Which I love Zach Morris, by
before
the way.
Taylor came along, and then Taylor gets hurt, and it's like they can't remember how to run the ball anymore. I don't know what's going on there. It's weird.
Well, Moss, that's one of those things where you go, is this just a reversion to the mean? Because this is the Zach Moss that we had seen for several years in Buffalo. He looks basically just like that. So you go, okay, yeah, he ran the ball really well early on, but like, was that just because teams were keying on Anthony Richardson? They weren't sure what to do. You had a spy on the QB, so that opened up lanes for Moss because you had a linebacker who was being held by Richardson, and then Minshew comes in and teams aren't quite sure what to do right away. And so you get a game there where Moss looks good. And now this is just who Zach Moss really is. We're back to that. I mean, I don't know, but it seems like
as a good number 2, not your number 1. Right.
Yeah.
No, and that very well
change
could
pace
be.
guy.
But they don't
depending on spread. I mean, that Bengals Vikings might be the lock of the week because the Bengals look really good. I'm really nervous about that because I think they're way better than the fucking Browns. And if they end up locking up the wild card, man, they destroy us every fucking year.
Ooh, I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't know if I agree with that either.
At this, that they're better than the Browns?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. Browns defense is heads and tails above the Bengals.
Yeah, the Bengals
I think as it's all around, I think the Bengals are better. More dangerous. I would rather play the Browns than the Bengals, put it that way.
They might be more dangerous, but they're more dangerous because of their offense, not because of anything
else. I
agree with that. They're better for sure.
I mean,
I agree with that.
You've got to, anytime that you have a guy like Jamar Chase who has a catch radius of roughly half a football field, which is
those are the type of teams that beat us, though. Those are the types of teams that beat us.
I mean, they did.
That's where Burrow makes a difference, though.
Yeah.
Burrow puts the ball in a better place than Browning does, and our defense can actually hold Browning.
Yeah.
Like I think and Burrow is the thing that eats our lunch, which makes a guy like Chase, AJ Green, those guys they just torch us.
Burrow destroys
us. Because Burrow hits a guy on a crossing route here. The ball hits him here, and Marlon is right on his hip. But there's nothing you can do about the ball here.
Yeah,
we're gonna get to Marlon, but we'll save that for the game later.
So I got to ask you guys, why do you think then the other guy is better?
Who, Burrow?
I think
you guys are both. I think you guys both like Browning better, right?
I think I mean I hear what Garrick's saying, and I think he might be right that he's a better system guy, but I don't think it matters. You don't get rid of Burrow. You don't get rid of a guy like Burrow. It doesn't matter if Browning's better. It just doesn't matter. Burrow's a better quarterback, and he's
double the quarterback. Yes,
and he is, in theory, gives you a better chance to win, even if that's not what's happening in practice. It doesn't matter. Like you know what I mean.
But they're obviously very lucky to have.
Yeah, in some ways, it's the Justin Fields or the risk on the other kid. It's not the same exact parallel, but in some ways, it's
sure.
The thing is when you're talking,
except you don't have the other guy yet. So
but when you're talking playoff football, Joe Burrow has another gear. I don't think Browning has that. We'll see, obviously, if they make the playoffs, if he does. But I do think he's like at a cap, and that cap is a Kirk Cousins cap, dare I say. That guy that's probably a viable starter in the league. We'll see if he continues that path, right, or not. But a viable starter in the league, but at the same time, he's not, I mean, with the Browns defense, that might be different. He may be good enough. I don't think Cleveland's defense is good enough. I mean, Cincinnati. Sorry,
no, their defense is not. But you saw it. This is a good game to ask this question. You saw what a backup and what a guy who is going to have a career as a backup and a guy who seems like should be a starter in the NFL going against each other looks like in the Colts Bengals game. You see Gardner Minshew and you see Browning, and you see a guy who will be a starter somewhere.
Browning's going to be a starter
in Browning, and Minshew, who is a good, one of the better backups to have on your team. No question. I mean, he's a guy that you feel okay putting him in there if he has to start 12 games.
When did the
Well, we lost him.
Where did they get this guy Browning? When did they draft him?
He's been there a few years.
Lost who?
We lost you for a minute.
Browning. Yeah. They drafted him?
I assume they did. I think they got him as like a 4th or 5th round pick a few years ago. He was a
Looking it up.
he was undrafted in 2019. Yeah, so he's an undrafted free agent. It's a heck of a story.
No kidding.
Good for him.
Yeah, no doubt.
Where did he play? He played for BYU. Okay.
No, Washington.
He was at BYU as well. Oh wait, no. Hold on. Never mind. I misread this. No, you're right. It was Washington is where he was. Yep.
Washington, he was first team all Pac-12. I mean, he's not honestly, Pac-12 player of the year in 2016, which I guess as a sophomore, I mean, it is actually a little surprising that he went undrafted.
Yep.
I'm looking at his numbers in college, and his sophomore year, he threw 43 touchdowns to 9 picks, and then followed that up with a 19.5 and a 16.10. So you're like, okay, well, that was a fluke. But I mean, certainly, he seemed to have decent numbers in college. Especially that sophomore year, 43 touchdowns.
Good enough to be drafted, right? Like,
yeah,
maybe not a high round pick, but you would think somewhere in the 4 or 5 range.
Yeah, I mean that sort of strikes me as the kind of thing where it's like all the teams that needed a quarterback had one, that kind of thing. He just the luck of the draft kind of a deal.
Those are some of the most fun players though, because like Austin Eckler is probably the poster child for that, going undrafted. And sure. I mean, Mitchell, we'll see if he turns out to be what he looks like. But I mean, those are some of the most fun guys because they're the hungriest.
Sure. Yeah, but I mean, I think I don't know. I'm interested in the Bengals moving forward, whether or not this is potentially a playoff team now.
And they're very much so. That's scary, I think.
And really, they legitimately have two wins they could get with Minnesota and Pittsburgh in the next 2 weeks. After that, it gets tougher with Kansas City and Cleveland. So.
I'm interested to see the point spread of that game. And I haven't looked. Bengals
3.5
about.
I mean, Bengals Browns could be that last game of the season could be for a playoff
low.
spot.
Yeah, you're right. Could be.
I mean that a game that coming into the season you go, yeah, the Ravens Steelers, that's a game that'll have playoff implications. Bengals Browns, who knows? Seems like just the unfortunate
all
other
three of them. All 3 of them are fighting for a playoff spot.
Well, the Steelers.
I think the Steelers are cooked.
I think they're cooked.
Yeah.
They played
we've seen
way over their head.
We know what they're made of.
I know they have.
I mean,
and that's a team I was going to ask earlier with the quarterback situation because they're 7. I don't know where they draft next year, but obviously it's not working out with Pickett. So
they're going to be in the middle. Honestly,
how deep? There's no quarterback's going to be there. They're going to get another Pickett. If they draft another quarterback there, they're going to get another Pickett. So they're kind of they have to. It's not good for them. Anyway, let's move on. I don't want to get into a rabbit hole with them again.
The only thing I'll tell you guys on that front, they play at the Colts this week, and then they go home to Cincinnati, at Seattle, and at Baltimore. That is not an easy run of games to finish the season. I think, and that's why I think Pittsburgh's done.
Yeah, no question. You know who Pittsburgh could end up maybe pulling in the draft is the Heisman Trophy winner.
I don't watch college ball.
Jaden Daniels.
Yeah,
from LSU. He's a guy that might be available to them in middle rounds, and
sure.
Big kid. I think he's 6'4", 6'5". He's
they'd love that.
Well, that's what I mean. That. I feel like he's a guy that might fit their mold. I mean, he's not as big as Ben. He's like a 200-pounder. He's like
I'm going to say
6'4". What are you talking about? He's
skinny. He's like,
but so was Ben.
Quarterback other than Ben, have they gone after that size?
Yeah,
they
they loved it for years.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, but Ben was skinny too when he came in the league. Remember when I remember him? He was. He was. When he came out of Miami, he was very skinny.
He wasn't the meathead he was at the end, but he was not
and
skinny.
And then he bulked up. He bulked up, and he got fat. And he got real fat.
Jaden Daniels is 6'4", 210.
I'm on my podcast.
So he's small. He's tall and thin. Anyway, whatever. We're this is wild speculation about the draft. Okay.
Yes.
Anyway. All right, let's see. Vikings Raiders, that's nothing. We already talked about that.
Don't want to.
Let's see. The Broncos Chargers. Okay, sorry. Can I'm gonna say something I've never said before.
Go ahead.
What?
Brandon Staley needs to get fired like 3 weeks ago.
You said that.
God.
Said that a million times.
They have ruined Justin Herbert. He looks
freaking million times.
He looks cooked, and now he's done for the season. I mean, he looks
what happened
out of sorts back there.
He's done. He hurt his index finger on his throwing hand.
Yeah, so he's
they shut him down for this season because they don't really have a reason to keep playing either.
No.
I just hope Staley doesn't get passed because of Herbert and some of the injuries they've had. Because they're not a good team right now, and the Broncos did nothing to really impress me. Everyone has praised the Wilson to Sutton throw, and that's fine. I give Sutton more credit than I do Wilson on that throw, but they weren't anything special that game either. Sure, they got the win, good for them, but okay.
Russell Wilson is playing clean by and large.
Sure,
he's not impressing. He's not impressing anybody, but he's not making mistakes.
They're about to strike to win the division right now.
Yeah, I know.
Don't laugh. Don't laugh. They're right there.
I know they are.
They are right fucking there.
It's crazy.
Couldn't be happier either. Trust me.
Crazy.
Which is nuts. It's nuts.
It is absolutely nuts that they are.
You know what they remind me of? I'll be honest with you. What they remind me of? They remind me for some unknown reason, and I can't, not because of anything about them as a team, but the 1999 or 2000 New England Patriots where they played and beat the Rams, right? The Rams that year were the greatest show on turf.
2001.
2001.
Yeah,
and
because
the Rams
because that shit was scripted,
I mean,
man. That was like the year 9/11. They were like, the Patriots win. Come on, that is
Patriots.
That is some Hollywood money bullshit. Right
I was looking at the Patriots that year, and I was like, this team isn't good.
But
and they kept winning.
But they beat the Eagles. They didn't beat the Rams. They beat the Eagles. Didn't they?
No, they beat the Rams. They beat the Rams. It was the team that beat the Rams. Look up the Super Bowl that New England beat the Rams. I think it's that year.
I thought they beat Donovan McNabb. Oh no, you're right. They beat the Rams. You're right.
Yeah.
And for some reason, they just kept winning and winning and winning and winning. Their defense was good enough to win. Brady was an unknown at that time, pretty much. And
yeah, that was his rookie year or his first.
They didn't have any wide receivers that were known. I think Branch was on the team potentially, maybe, but they didn't have any superstars at all. And for some reason, they just kept winning and winning.
They had,
and I was like,
Troy Brown.
Oh, wonderful! And listen, and I was like, the Rams. I was like, they're gonna dominate. And my buddy who studied football, he was like, no, take New England, they're gonna win. And I was like, really? He was like, yeah, take them. And I was like, really? Because and for some reason, I don't know why, I can't pinpoint it. The Denver Broncos this year remind me of that team. They're trucking along, they're winning, and they're not impressing me because I'm not impressed at all at Denver, literally at all. There's nothing about them that impresses me, but for some unknown reason, they're winning and winning. They're 7-6, but they started off horribly.
They have 4 wins coming in front of them, though. Like, their next 4 games are not tough. Detroit is the big mystery, right? Because they do not, like, Broncos defense not lighting up the world, and Detroit's defense can't stop anybody. So who knows what's going to happen there? Yeah. But Detroit's the only question mark after that. It's at home against New England, at home against the Chargers, and then at the Raiders, which that one is the ugly game for me, just because of the Raider defense. But beyond that, like, that's 4 possible wins out of them. And then they're sitting right in the thick of things, and they're probably vying for that division.
They're 1 game back right now. One
I
game.
know. No, the Broncos are.
Kansas City doesn't have much of a harder schedule in front of them, though. Let's be honest. Vegas twice, New England, and then I think they play. Is it Cleveland? No, let me look real quick. Cincinnati at home.
And
So-
the Chiefs split with the Broncos, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
I don't know what the second tiebreaker ends up
Yeah.
being. It probably is conference record or something along
Yeah,
those
I think
lines,
it's conference.
or division record or something like that. So
Yeah.
I'd have to look at what that looks like. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Broncos are. I mean, I do. I find them to be like just the most boring team to be.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're
really,
warm
it's Cortland Sutton, and then the rest of the
Yep.
team. I don't care at all about.
yeah, they're warm water.
Yeah.
They're a
the
wet
Charger-
blanket.
Well, and the Chargers just continue to be like one of the most disappointing stories this year. I mean, just so much talent, and just so mismanaged. I mean, to the point where I'm starting to wonder if we've all been wrong about Justin Herbert. Like maybe we're wrong about him.
I said this earlier in the year.
I don't think so.
I think he's okay, and I don't think we can base it on Brandon Staley. I think we need to see, and quite frankly, Ben Johnson's a great fit there too. Like that's another.
He needs an offensive-minded coach. He needs another. But the thing with Staley that's so annoying is like he's a defensive guru. Why does this defense so mediocre? I mean,
clearly they're not after this week. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Khalil Mack and Nick Bosa or Joey Bosa. I mean, my God, just those two guys disrupting the backfield all day, and it doesn't seem to matter. It's anyway.
Yes.
That Quentin Johnston continues to impress, though.
Yeah, let's not spend any more time on the boring game that it was. I want to get into some of these fun games. We've got quite a few fun games in front of us.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I bet you.
All right, let's see. Let's go. Well, okay, let's knock out the last kind of slightly boring game, the Niners Seahawks. Which I mean,
it happened the way we expected.
I mean, it was I mean, I picked the Seahawks to cover because it was a big spread, and they didn't. But
Niners they're playing their best football again, and Christmas Day, whoo dog, that's setting up.
Yeah.
I thought the Seahawks looked pretty good for a half, and then they just got shut down in the second half, and just couldn't figure out what to do. But I mean, I honestly, the Seahawks are my one little team where I still think, gosh, this team, it's been a brutal schedule, and they started slow.
They've lost five in a row.
I know, and they've. But
they got Philly and they have Philly this week.
And they have Philly. They've lost 5 in a row, and they have. But that's the thing. What's weird about
them is
that
clobbered this week.
They've played well in all of those games. They just not well enough,
Yep.
And Philly.
When you have a team going like that, I'm telling you, bet against them because kind of like the Ravens that one year that would win every close game. When you have a team that wins every close game, for some reason they just win the surprisingly close games, and then when you have a team like this, I'm telling you, man, it's almost like a lock. They'll lose somehow at the end of the game by like a point or two.
Yeah.
The only thing I would challenge you on real quick, Brian, is you said they've been playing it good in those games. They played good against Dallas. They have not played good against San Francisco.
No,
they've lost to them 2 out of the last 3 weeks. And the Rams game was fine. But the Cowboy game, they definitely played the Cowboys really well.
Yeah, they played the Cowboys really well. They played I thought the Rams game was decent. The Rams are, obviously surging.
And they were coming out of their bye week, and the Rams were fired up out of that. Like there was a lot that went into that game.
Right. Yes, they got destroyed by San Francisco the first game. That was ugly.
Yeah.
But
and it got ugly in the second half this week.
Yeah. The
first half, you're right, was a lot closer.
Yeah. No, Seattle couldn't figure anything out in the second half. All right. So the last blowout of the week, the Cowboys Eagles, which, kind of a surprise to me in some ways. But a lot of in a lot of ways the same as last week for the Eagles. You got a team that really, really, really has something to prove, and the Eagles don't.
This is my game of the week last week.
I think the Eagles had everything to play for in that game because they had just gotten killed by the 49ers and had a statement to make.
Yeah.
And they got punched in the mouth.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to a statement you made earlier in the season about the Cowboys being paper tiger flighty or something along those lines.
I didn't call them paper tigers. That's not me. I
You
said
absolutely did. I listened to it today.
I said paper tigers.
You said paper tiger flighty.
Paper tigers flying dragons.
No, they are. I still think. I'll tell you what I think about the Cowboys. Go ahead.
No, that's all I was going to say. I just went. Go ahead. I want to hear
right.
the change of tune towards them a little bit.
The change of tune is this. I think that they're bullies. If you punch them in the mouth, they cry and they whine and they go down, and they are easily beatable. That is what the Niners did to them. They came out, punched them in the mouth, and then the Cowboys, they just pouted the rest of the game. They are soft, they're undisciplined, but I think if they get out to a lead, that's where you really can't catch up with them. They're bullies.
They're front runners. They're front runners.
I think that defense is really solid. And if they can get out to a 2-score lead, you're just not going to be able to get back into that game.
Sure.
However, if you come out and punch them in the mouth, that's what Arizona did when they beat them. Was they came out, punched them in the mouth, and the Cowboys never recovered from it. And the rest of the game they couldn't figure it out.
In week 2, and since then the only teams they've lost to are Philadelphia and San Francisco, and they've torched everyone by double digits, like almost 20 points a game.
It's okay.
Like they're figuring some things out. And I'm with you on McCarthy, but I will say I heard an interesting thing. He didn't call plays on the offense in Green Bay for like the last 5 years. And this is the first time he's called plays in 10. Now, I don't know what that means or not, but all I know is that offense is on fire now.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Dirty Diaper hates that guy. Dirty Diaper hates
while he was at Green Bay, he took over calling plays partway through the season in several of those last 5 years. He didn't start the season calling plays in those years. So no, he would take over when the Packers were struggling or whatever. He would take over, and it didn't really improve much. I guess my thing with him is, again, he's fine calling plays. He's not creative. And he doesn't he's not a coach from behind coach. He's not a call plays from behind coach. He's fine, but there's no creativity in what he's doing.
But we got Brandon Staley, Bryce Young, Mike McCarthy,
I can't
Gabe
stand
Davis.
Listen.
We've got these people that he just absolutely hates.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
listen.
I do not hate Gabe Davis. I want nothing but good things for Gabe Davis.
All right, great.
He just irritates me.
Listen. The 49ers and the Cowboys right now. This is like the 90s. This is like the early 90s. They're 10-3. They've both won 5 straight, and they're headed for another championship type game.
They're headed for a collision course right now.
They are. And here's the thing. If the Cowboys, who just took over first place in their division, secures home field advantage over the San Francisco 49ers, right? So that could happen. So they both have a lot to play for, because the Cowboys are unbeatable at home. They're undefeated.
They have a much harder road.
The Cowboys, hold on, Mike. The Cowboys go to Buffalo this week. Then they go to Miami next week.
Okay.
Then they get the Lions, and then they finish the season with Washington. So, but they've got Bills, Dolphins on the road back-to-back the next 2 weeks.
What about the Niners?
They have Arizona and Washington as 2 of their last 4 games.
And then they got Baltimore.
They have Baltimore and the Rams. So those are the 2. Like the Rams, I don't think they're a real threat. Baltimore could be a real threat. Let's see.
Yeah.
But that's of that, they've got one game that is less certain, and the other 3 are probably wins for them. So I think San Francisco has got home field kind of locked up.
You still got the Eagles. You still have the Eagles. They're right there with them.
They don't have
10-3.
they don't have first anymore, do they? Though after losing,
They
to the
don't.
If
Cowboys?
they
but
win out, though, if they win out, I mean, that's the
Currently,
The
right
Cowboys
now,
if
it's
the
the
Eagles,
Cowboys.
if the Eagles and Cowboys win out, the Eagles win.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I was. That's what they were saying the other day.
Oh, interesting.
Because I mean, right
that
now
if
the
the
Cowboys
Eagles
are
win
1.
out-
So
That if the Eagles win out, I think it's because the Eagles have to play the Giants twice, so I think they'd have a
Yes,
better
that's
division
what it
record
is.
if they win out.
gotcha. I
Yeah,
got you.
And
I
they've got
got you.
Seattle and Arizona as the other two, so
The
they're
Eagles,
going to get
Eagles have
healthy
4
before the
winning
playoffs.
games. Yeah, they have 4 games to win over. I mean, the Seahawks are the only real threat that you see there. I mean,
Right.
I don't know. The
Because
Giants
when
are
you look at
playing
it,
pretty good defense right now, but who knows? I mean, I can't imagine.
Cowboys
But-
3-3 on the road, and then 7-0 at home.
Mhm.
So they're crucial. If they win home field advantage throughout the playoffs, Cowboys have a massive advantage.
Sure.
Whereas the other teams can win on the road, right?
Yeah.
I think. Whereas the Cowboys, I think when they go on the road, if the Cowboys have to go to either Philly or San Fran, I'm going the other way. Either way, I don't think they go.
I mean,
but if they
the
have home field
Cowboys are
advantage,
in round 1. The Cowboys are going to go to Atlanta or Tampa Bay. That's where they're going to go.
if
So they're
well,
fine.
if Cowboys
Yeah.
have home field advantage throughout the playoffs,
They
I'm
won't.
betting on them to go to the Super Bowl.
They won't. They won't.
Yeah, but
They won't.
Philly,
But they do right
So-
now. They do right this second.
if all 3 of the teams win out, who ends up in first overall?
The Niners.
I guess what you guys are
The
saying
Niners
is
do?
the
Okay,
Eagles.
that was the one I didn't know for sure.
Because the
If
Niners beat the
maintain
Cowboys
it,
head to head.
and the Eagles head to head too. So
Right.
that's right. So that makes sense.
Right.
Mhm.
So
I was just
mean,
wondering, and I mean, the odds are like, even though they're playing us, they are at home, so you have to give them the edge. And
Sure.
they're the hottest team in football. Like maybe
If
not the hottest by record, but the way
Yeah.
they're playing.
if the dice rolls out where the Cowboys win out and they keep winning and get that home field advantage, I'm putting the fucking house on them because it's hard to win there. It's fucking hard to win in Dallas. It really is.
Agreed. I'm trying to see where I'm not seeing
I
where
think
the
San
overall-
Francisco travels just fine though. And San Francisco.
And
Look at
Dallas just went. Didn't Dallas just go to Philly? Right? They were in Philly when they beat them.
They were. And the Eagles, like the defense, honestly, I think that's why the Eagles are going to have a hard time this year. They're
defense.
back 7, if you want to call it that. Like their secondary, it's not
Well,
it did not look
plus-
that good. The Cowboys
plus-
definitely exposed that.
plus Hurts didn't have a good game, and they need Hurts to go out there and kind of drive the offense,
But they've been
create
exposed
things.
to 2 really good teams in a row. Like
Yep.
They also, I don't know if you saw, but AJ Brown was talking about Stephon Gilmore being an old man this week.
yeah.
AJ
Oops.
ought to shut the fuck up
Exactly. Don't poke the bear, buddy.
because Gilmore ate his lunch that whole game.
Hey, can we do an obligatory talk about Brandon Aubrey? Like, because
Yeah, it's a
that
great
kid's
story.
playing. I mean, it's a cool story for him, right? Like to be
Mhm.
rookie, not having missed, like, and he's hitting like monster field goals too. Like,
Oh,
big
yeah.
moments, but
I like
long
that.
lengths. Like, he's doing really well.
So not to wish ill on anybody, but just to be a sourpuss, Gary Anderson. That's all I'm going to say. Gary Anderson.
World record holder, right?
Do you remember
field
Gary
goals?
Anderson? World record or what?
Most, didn't he kick the most field goals or something? Or was
Gary
that Morton
Anderson.
Anderson? Was that Morton Anderson?
Morton Anderson might have been the most.
I think Morton Anderson kicked the most field goals in history. Because he played till he was like 57.
Yeah, Morton Anderson. Morton Anderson played until he died of old age.
Right. He died on the field
He died on the
at
field.
98.
1999.
By the way, you
Minnesota-
guys are both wrong. It's
Huh?
Adam Vinatieri.
Yeah, I thought, but Morton Anderson used to be. I think it was Morton Anderson until
It's
Vinatieri.
Oh,
probably
did
what
Adam-
was.
It
Yeah.
was. It was.
Adam broke it.
Yeah, Adam
Yeah.
broke it. Gary Anderson in 1999, the Minnesota Vikings went 15-1. Gary Anderson did not miss a field goal the entire season. And then, as the Vikings were looking to add to their 27-20 lead over the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC Championship game, he missed his first field goal of the season, and the Dirty Birds came back and won the game and went to the Super Bowl.
You know, I swear, for such a positive guy that loves everything and wants everybody to be like peace,
He
love,
brings
share
right?
hates on
Right?
some players. I swear.
Oh,
I'm not hating the guy. I think it's a great story.
One memory
I'm
you
just-
have of
a
Gary
great story. He
Anderson,
goes, I think it's a great
probably
story.
worth
He
all
missed
that.
the field goal and got
I'm
crapped
just-
on.
No, I mean
months.
Brandon Aubrey. I think Brandon Aubrey's a great story. I'm just
Okay.
saying, like the last
He's going
time
to miss a field goal in a momentous occasion.
all I'm saying is that no, I'm just pointing back to the last time we had a kicker that like went a whole season without missing a single regular season field goal. To my knowledge, was Gary Anderson, who then missed the biggest kick of the season when he, missed the one that would have put the Vikings up 10 and probably iced the game, and instead allowed but missed it and let the Falcons come back and win. With when their quarterback was what was that guy's name? Chris Cornell? It wasn't Chris Cornell. He was in Soundgarden.
He was the lead singer for Group, I think. Died.
Rest in peace.
I think he died.
What was
yeah,
that guy? What was
died.
that quarterback's name for the Falcons that year when they had Jamal Anderson?
Brad Anderson?
No, it wasn't Brad Anderson. It was
No, that was
Brad
who
Johnson.
was that?
Sorry, I meant
No,
Brad
Johnson.
Johnson. That was Tampa Bay. That was Tampa Bay.
He was in Minnesota first, though.
Yeah, it
Are we
wasn't.
talking about Atlanta?
We're talking about Atlanta. Chris Chandler. Chris Chandler.
Chris Chandler.
yeah.
Chandler. That's right. That's right.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about Minnesota still.
No, Chris. No. I was saying I remember that.
That's my team. Come on.
They
stop
lost.
talking
That was
about
when
Minnesota.
Favre got his ring.
Yes.
Anyway,
Right.
sorry.
All right. What game we on? Where we at?
Sorry, man.
we at?
Like my mind goes to these things sometimes.
Yeah,
What
it's
can I
good.
say?
That's good.
No, we're
All
aware
right.
that's why Mike's getting you back on track.
All right. So Aubrey's it's a great. I mean, just to touch on that. I mean, it's an
story.
amazing story. This guy, great for
It
him.
is.
And
It is.
I'm not really wishing that on him or anything. I'm just saying, like, when I see a guy who hasn't missed a single kick all season, I'm like, I immediately think of Gary Anderson.
Yes.
Like, I can't.
Yes.
It's the same way that
And-
Yeah,
I think
you're
about
pessimist.
it's the same way I think about the 85 Bears. That they went 15-1. The one game they lost,
Miami
Miami
Dolphins.
Dolphins.
To
You
secure
know what I mean? Like,
their fucking legacy. I love that.
I
And
mean,
I was a big
You
Miami
dwell on
fan
the
then.
freaking negative. There you go
And
again.
I
You
was
guys should be touching
celebrating.
on New England losing to the Giants in the Super Bowl. Like, let's just point out the
We know
one
that.
flaw that everyone has.
Of course.
That was
I
a
just,
great game.
But
That was a
the
Monday Night
85
football
Bears,
game too. It was a Monday Night football game too. And I watched it as a kid and I was a big Miami fan. I loved it. Loved every minute of it.
It's like Giselle Bundchen. She's gorgeous.
Dan the man, baby. The goat. The fucking goat. All the old men. All the old men from 72 blow him every year.
Man, I don't want to be married to you, buddy. Like, pointing out only the flaws in things. Like, geez.
Right?
So negative.
All right. Who we going to?
All right,
Who we going
let's
to?
do
here, pal?
let's talk Packers Giants.
Great.
My
This
boy
is
Love.
I love. No. This is all about New York's wet dream. And their wet dream is to have an Italian quarterback named Tommy DeVito that leads that team to the playoffs. And quite frankly, like, if he's a rookie still,
listen.
right? Like, I mean,
Yeah. You know who he reminds me of? You know who he reminds me of?
Who?
Their Super Bowl leading quarterback. And I'm not talking about Manning.
Gary Collins?
Not talking about winning Super Bowl winning
Phil
quarterback.
Simms?
Yup.
What?
Phil Simms. He's accurate. He just throws. He's very accurate. Right? He
doesn't make mistakes. He's not been
He
making
doesn't make a
mistakes.
bunch of mistakes. He's a Phil Simms. Right?
We'll
If
see.
you look back at the Giants, like that's his style. He's not going to light it up. Phil Simms never fucking lit up anything, except for
I just want to
Christmas
see
tree.
this. I just want to see, like, I don't care what happens in the NFL. I want them to come out and go, you know what? We're rolling with DeVito next year. We don't care about Daniel Jones and what we're paying him. We're going to ride the hot hand.
Didn't
and
they
then
just
watch
sign
them
him?
go
Yeah.
the whole way? They
So
did.
can't they just cut him? I mean, the NFL. I mean,
No,
how much
they would have
guaranteed
a
money?
huge cap hit to do that.
You
More
don't
likely
really.
they would trade him to somebody. Would be more likely the
And
scenario.
nobody's going to
Gotcha.
trade for him.
Not that.
Well,
not
I
for
think
that
so.
salary.
I
Yeah.
think so.
No, not for that
I think so.
salary. Nobody's
would
going
have
to
to
pick up that
renegotiate.
salary.
Whoa. I don't know what that salary is.
They would have to renegotiate, and that would be something that would have to happen before the trade. Like they'd have to be like he would have to be willing to renegotiate.
It could be a sign trade kind of deal, but yeah, that's not very common in the NFL. It's more common in like the NBA than anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Tommy DeVito, like, first of all, that Packers team, I don't know if you guys watched that game that closely or not, because I know we were talking about the Miami game as well. So I didn't know if
I
you
was
guys
flipping back and forth.
Yeah, me too.
Because
Jordan
I
Love.
had all these players were killing me while all the
Right.
Miami players were helping me. Right?
Yep.
This is a good game to see how Saquon really is worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he helps me.
Yeah.
I had him on my
I'm
fantasy team.
telling you guys, Jordan Love is back. Like, he made some awful throws.
He's
in that game.
legit. He's legit.
Like, no, that was
He's
he
terrible.
made some terrible throws in that game.
No, he made terrible throws, but he's legit. He's going to be their quarterback of the future.
That interception he threw, where the safety looked like he just ran underneath it and was catching a pop up in the outfield.
Yeah,
he had no business throwing that ball.
I get it.
Well,
I
It was
get
a
it.
terrible throw.
he telegraphed
I
the
get
ball. Yeah, no,
It was a terrible throw. It was a terrible mistake, but that's going to iron out.
it was a rookie.
This
pick.
guy's going to be a stud.
I don't
An
know about that.
absolute
I think he's going to
stud.
be a viable starter. I don't know about a
Well,
stud.
Kirk Cousins.
No, absolutely not.
I know,
Absolutely
I
not.
think-
He'll be better.
I
He'll be
think
better.
Jordan Love's.
And
I
I think Kirk Cousins is very good. I love Kirk Cousins. I would love if I had a team, I'd be like, awesome. Give me that guy all the
No, you
time.
wouldn't. No, you would.
Yeah, I would. Dude, look at his stats. He's got great
You will
stats.
accept him if you can't have Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or one of the true studs in the league. Then you'll go,
Of
yeah,
course.
that's fine. I'll take it.
That's
Sure.
hitting jackpot. That's hitting jackpot.
There's a lot of teams who've hit jackpot lately. Like, there's some really good quarterbacks right now in the league.
I agree. And I think they're all going to end up with very similar numbers when at the end of the day, if you look at the stats, because deceptively, he has good stats. And I don't think people realize it. When you look at his career stats year by year, I think
we
he
talking
has
about, Jordan
better
Love?
stats.
He's got
No,
one
He's talking
season.
about Cousins. He's
Oh,
talking
No,
about Cousins.
Cousins.
sorry. Okay, I was like, wait, Jordan Love has.
I
one
just think he's
season in
very
his career.
consistent and he has very good stats. And like when he led Washington to the victories and he led Minnesota to the victories that no one ever thought he would do. And I really thought he was going to do it.
I wouldn't say
more so
nothing.
this year
no one
until he
did
got
because they
hurt.
signed him to a lot of money because they thought he would.
Of course, but think about this. You guys you guys crap on him all the time, and I think most people do. Most people, when you say Kirk Cousins, most people aren't gonna like, oh
Most
man,
people
he's
fall
like,
asleep.
yeah, exactly.
Yes. He's a
I
top
agree
15
with you.
quarterback.
I agree with you.
He's mayonnaise on white bread with
He's
he's a mayonnaise white bread turkey sandwich. I mean, he is boring as shit.
Totally.
He's absolutely boring as
But
shit.
like, who do you think here's a good comparison? Who do you think's better, him or Joe Flacco? Who's had a better career? Who would you pick?
Well,
I
I
would
don't
probably-
know.
I would pick
probably
Cousins.
Depends on what we consider for a good career. I would take
Well,
Joe Flacco's Super Bowl MVP
obviously.
and a ring.
Yeah, totally.
I would
too.
go Cousins. If you just
But
asked
if I
me
had to
outright,
pick a
I would go
player,
Cousins.
I think
I
Flacco's
would
got a
go
ring.
Cousins. I would go Cousins. But you're right, Brian. If I had say like who had a better career, I'd say yeah, Flacco. But if I had to
Flacco has
pick
a ring
player,
because he had Ray Lewis as his middle linebacker
Sure, doesn't
and
matter.
a monster
he had a-
defense to go with
he,
it.
I mean-
he did have a historic run in the playoffs,
And he had a
which no one
historic
could-
run in the playoffs.
Absolutely did.
you can't doubt that. That's not
I mean, yeah,
defense. That's
sure.
him.
Who would I rather? Who
But-
would I rather have for the first 16, now 17 games of the season? Probably Cousins. Who do I want in the playoffs? I don't know. Joe Flacco seems like the guy I'd rather have.
At least
What's
for one season.
now.
I mean, what's
One season. Not any more than that. He didn't do anything else in the playoffs that well.
he won games?
Game. And then lost.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you can't,
if we're gonna, I just think Cousins has not been on the same teams. Like offensively, this year at least, he's got more talent than Joe ever had. Without at least on the offensive side of the ball, but no defense.
Yeah.
And defense is what matters in the playoffs.
Sure.
I agree. Totally.
I mean, sure. That's fine. I mean, I agree. Cousins is probably a better quarterback, but it doesn't matter much when
I just think he's a little underrated, but that's that we'll see next year.
There is a
He's
reason,
coming back just like what's his face from the Jets is coming back, he says. So we'll see.
Yeah, Rodgers is signed for a couple years.
He'll be back.
Rodgers?
I mean, he's
Rodgers
got,
is probably throwing. I mean, he's been out
he's,
running.
I think
stuff.
he's got
What's up, big dog?
he's signed for 3 years or something, I think.
Yeah, I think he comes back if they win again, but they have to beat Miami this week for that to be a.
So Cousins is done, right? His contract though.
Yeah, he's done. His
Yeah,
contract's
he's
up.
done. I could see him going somewhere else just because of his age, and they're not going to want to invest a lot of money in somebody at that age, probably coming off of.
It's going to be someone maybe who has a young quarterback who they want to groom.
I think I
From
don't
a
think
draft
Cousins I don't
this
think
year.
Cousins does that. I think Cousins wants to be a starter again somewhere where
No,
he might
he's going to start.
get a ring.
No, he's going to start
Yeah.
for sure.
Minnesota needs to get some talent in there though, because they've got too many weapons on in the passing game alone, not to have some kind of talent there.
Agreed. And they need a
Put
running
Justin
back.
Fields in that team, and that is a very different team.
Yeah.
Because they can't run the ball, and at least he can. So you had that dynamic.
And if he's running the ball, maybe it opens up lanes. You know what I mean? Yeah. But no, I thought I agree that the Giants look good. Tommy DeVito looks good. You know, he's safe. He makes a lot of safe throws. He's smart with the ball.
Totally
plays well. But the biggest thing, my biggest takeaway with the Packers was what a different team they are without Watson.
Yeah, that definitely is a factor. The other thing I was going to hit on, and we can touch on both of them, the defensive play calling on the last series was absolutely abysmal. Like, because Tommy DeVito didn't do anything special. He just went, 5 yards, 5 yards. Oh, look, there's a guy running in the flat over there for about 15 yards that ran for another 20. Like, he didn't do anything special, and that defense was so soft. Like, it just gave them the win.
They gave them the win. And go back just a little bit before that. The 2-point conversion play, absolutely nonsensical.
Yes.
Just nonsensical. I mean, that I can only imagine that's just LaFleur. Who is the I can't remember who's the offensive coordinator there.
I don't know. I'm just saying it's LaFleur because he's the head coach. But you're exactly right, because that Jaden Reed freaking like jet sweep, they ran that like 3 or 4 times in the last 2 minutes, and it never worked. Like, it worked early in the game, and the Giants made an adjustment, and then they kept playing the same, calling the same play every time, and it was like, what do you know something I don't? Like, not
Adam
that I'm a head coach by any means, but it's like, wait, what are you doing?
It's Adam Stenavich, and no, he has not proven himself to be very good. I mean, he is. I just pulled him up. He's like he is the second least successful offensive coordinator in Green Bay Packers history, and that is obvious. He is not. I mean, he's one of these guys. Like, he's one of these guys that you think of as being sort of he's like faux creative. He does things that look like they're creative, but then when you actually like sit down and look at the X's and O's, you're like, oh no, this is just something everybody's seen 1,000 times. In the same way that Greg Roman didn't know how to set up a screen. Like, Greg Roman, the thing
call a pass.
Huh? Or what?
Or call a pass.
Okay, I know your objections to Greg Roman, but the thing that really bothered me more than anything else about him was that he could not call a successful screenplay. And it's like, how can you not ever succeed throwing a tight end screen, a wide receiver screen?
Right.
I mean,
I agree.
It's astonishing how bad he was at that. How many of those plays got blown up in the backfield over and over and over?
Who was the quarterback?
Lamar.
Was it, like, what was the reason? Like,
because those things have to be set up. The blocking has to be set up. You have to sell
because Greg Roman is an offensive line coach. His bread and butter is teaching the offensive line. Offensive linemen love to run the ball. It's what he knows. He is not. He did not ever adapt beyond that, and it's why the offense was so limited the whole time he was there, which worked in the first year because Lamar needed to grow in the passing game for sure, and they had some better pieces from the running, and they caught everyone by surprise.
Right.
Nobody was caught by surprise in the second year.
Right. Yeah. No. Right. Although the second year was when Lamar won the MVP, wasn't it? So
I know. Didn't go very far in the playoffs.
Who's next? No. Who's the next one?
All right.
Where are we going next here?
All right, Mike. All right.
I got to keep you on track because you'll keep going.
Well, no, I mean, I just want.
I know.
Just to wrap up that Packers Giants game, just to wrap that up. I do think that's worth that's worth mentioning, that like they went right to, I mean, that insanely soft defense after a terrible call, and you go, yeah, okay, the Giants deserve that win, they earned it, but the Packers gave that away in the last 2 minutes of that game, not even 2 minutes, but like, and that is frustrating, because I still feel like LaFleur seems like a good head coach. I mean, he seems like a decent head coach, but he's responsible for the offensive coordinator. He's responsible for the D coordinator. You know what I mean? He's responsible for those guys. And so anyway, whatever. I just wanted to say that.
I lost that game.
They make the adjustments. They do all of the things. Like, they may not be calling every single play, but they're feeding into this is what we should be doing and win. So
and so
whether it's him or not, we'll see. Because they would probably fire their OC.
All right.
If they keep it up.
So I want to finish with the OT game. So let's go to Titans Dolphins.
Oh, man, what a game!
What a game!
What a game!
What an just an absolute banger.
So when the penalty happened, when that poor bastard touched that ball on the kick, and
oh my God.
I felt so bad for that guy. I felt so bad for him.
I was feel bad for him. I'm like,
the
what
game's
are you
over.
Run away from that ball.
Like, the game's over at that point, right? I'm thinking this is done.
I texted that to you guys. I'm like, well, looks like the Titans don't actually want to win.
Over.
So
it's over. But that just shows you how crazy the NFL is.
Well,
anything can fucking happen. And the fact that they came back, when at that point in time, I thought there's no fucking way they're going to win.
Well, their defense, though, slowed Miami down. And then when Tyreek Hill got hurt, that whole offense completely changed.
Listen,
we had all of the dynamic aspect of that.
We all had players in this game. And I had Tyreek. I had none. We all had Tyreek. But I had Tua. And I wasn't watching this game. I was watching the other game.
Sure.
And I was just looking at my score, and I was thinking, how the fucking Tua have like 2 points? It's like halftime almost. I'm thinking, like, what's going on here? And then I flipped over and I'm like, what's going on? And then a couple times, I got so frustrated with the play calling at one point where I was like, either it was a third down and I swear it was towards the end of the game where Miami could have locked it up, but they just did some bullshit draw play. And I was like, what are you fucking doing? Are you fucking kidding me?
The other side of this is without Tyreek in that game, it takes longer for the rest of those players to get open, which is why Tennessee was getting home on Tua all night.
That's why I said he was the best. That's why I always said this year he was the best receiver in the NFL. I think he's the best. He's the absolute number one receiver there is in the NFL. For sure. No question.
I don't think anybody would question that. I think there's a pretty strong case that can be made that he's the MVP this year.
Maybe.
He probably won't win it.
Or the fact that the Niners lost 3 times without Debo.
Debo's not in the conversation.
He won't even get the
conversation going.
Purdy might get it because he's a quarterback.
Maybe.
They'll give it to
it's probably
McCaffrey
Dak.
before they
give it
to
McCaffrey.
McCaffrey.
I wouldn't complain.
McCaffrey's, on the Niners, McCaffrey's the guy.
The way Dak's playing, he deserves it.
Dak's playing lights out. And Lamar's in that conversation. Still too. I think Dak is outplaying Lamar, but Lamar is certainly in the top 4, nominees for MVP at this point.
Sure.
And depending on what plays out the rest of the season, he can make a run at that.
If he beats San Francisco, he jumps to the top of that. If he beats
San Francisco, he would, yes. But that Dolphins game, back to the Dolphins game. Dolphins are up 2 scores, up 14 points.
Yeah.
And Frank Smith calls, I just don't understand offensive coordinators doing that. Like Raheem Morris up the middle. And then like a bullshit incomplete pass.
The monster.
You don't mean the
I do not mean the coach. I don't mean the coach.
I had him last night. The monster. Mostert.
Mostert. Mostert up the middle. Mostert up the middle. And like I get it. Mostert's great, but like this is what the Titans are hoping you will do. They are hoping you're going to run up the middle. They're stacking the box. They're double teaming Tyreek, and they're hoping that you don't hit Smythe or I don't know.
Right.
They probably have a guy on, a fast guy on a Chan or a Chain or whatever isn't even in there. So you got Mostert, and you're like, okay, they're doubling Tyreek, they're doubling Waddle. So that's where they're sending their 4 DBs, and they're putting everybody else in the box.
Yep.
You know,
and if you look at the Miami defense, like, yeah, they've got Ramsey and Howard, which that's maybe the best duo on the edges.
Sure.
But they were getting torched in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
And I mean, none of us are like professionals watching this game, and we know that head coaches are watching game film. And you're going to see Odell run clean and Flowers run clean across the middle, and that's like they're in trouble. Like they've lost some of the luster from earlier in the season a little bit. And they're a little banged up, but I mean, we'll see. I mean, they're always going to be a threat.
The thing with the Dolphins is they're explosive, so they're in every game because they're one Tyreek Hill, Mostert, or a chain or whatever his name is. You know, breaking one away from getting back into a game. You know, that is dangerous. That
when you knock them a little bit off their game plan, they're done. They're not that all around team, but they are. When they're running on all pistons, you can't stop.
Well,
they have not beat a winning team yet.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. They're front runners for sure.
They have not beat a team with a winning record yet.
Oh, at all?
They got punched in the mouth by Philly, Buffalo, Kansas City, and now by Tennessee. But if you look at who their wins are, it's the Chargers, New England, Denver, the Giants, Carolina, New England, Vegas, the Jets, and Washington. None of those
Broncos,
are great
and the Broncos
teams.
have a winning record now, but you know
they do now, but not back then. That was before that's when they got punched in the mouth and didn't know what to do for weeks. But it definitely is a tell on them.
I mean, I think every team that's beaten the Dolphins has done it by either the Titans did by doubling Tyreek all day or by jamming him at the line.
I put the Dolphins
this week.
Yeah.
I put the Dolphins in with Detroit. Them two are I feel like both. I'm shorting the Dolphins. I'm shorting
the Dolphins
Detroit.
are a better team than Detroit, but yeah.
They are a better team, but they're going to also lose, I think, quickly. They're not going to go far.
They're a finesse team, and when the playoffs become physical is when they're going to have problems.
Right.
Not going to go far in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Browns team with Flacco at the helm gives them fits.
Yeah.
Defensively, they will slow that offense down, and
sure.
The middle of the field means Njoku's going to catch 2 touchdowns again.
We got the Bears next week, I think, right? No.
And
Miami, they've got the Jets.
The Jets.
Jets next week?
Yeah, and Miami.
I want to talk about this just a little bit more, just because I mean, I could not, watching that game, watching how what's his name, Frank Smith called those plays up 2 scores. I know you want to eat clock, but you still have too much time left. You need to move the ball.
Frustrating. It was frustrating.
It was a mind-blowing sort of series.
It's fine if you're running the ball well, but when you're not, then what are you doing?
And why are you not throwing it at least
Tua
one of
goes
those 2
down.
first downs?
He gets a lot of sacks. He takes a lot of sacks and he slips a lot. I noticed that I watch a lot of Miami games. He tends to do a lot of that.
Tua's a finesse quarterback.
He started scrambling more in the game too, which is not good, Mr. Concussion Protocol. Like that's a dangerous thing. But you're exactly right, Brian. It's the thing I've complained about with Lamar is you run straight up the middle instead of going, no. Our asset is our speed. So let's put these guys in space and force the defense to have to cover Achane, Mostert, Waddle, all the guys, right? But instead
when they wanted to score,
we've got Derrick Henry again, right? Wait, no, we don't. Never mind. So
when they wanted to score, they went monster out wide. They did their wide. Look, why the fuck they didn't do that?
Exactly right. It's all about
they would just up the middle, fall down. It was like
it was a real head scratcher of like a series. After the muff punt, they got that. I know.
I'll take the gift though.
Sure. And then the other thing I wanted to say was Vic Fangio is historically one of the best defensive coordinators in football history. This is a guy who has team after team done a great job as a defensive coordinator. To play so soft against that Tennessee Titans, it didn't. Maybe on the first score, maybe it makes a little sense because you're trying to make them eat the clock, which they didn't. I mean, they drove down the field fast.
Yep.
Will
They
Levis
moved
Will
really
Levis
quick.
got his mayonnaise coffee and just went down the field. And
That dude is stacked though.
he
Like that
is
dude's got some guns.
he is he is maybe my new favorite meathead. He is probably my new favorite meathead.
He looks like Ryan Tannehill inside that helmet. Like
He is
they look
just
kind of the same.
when I listened to him after the game talking, and I'm just like, oh, God bless you, you big dumb idiot. I love this guy. I mean, this is I mean, and God, I mean, again, maybe he's a smart guy in real life, but like listening to him talk, I'm like, this guy, it's just like me football, me like, it was pretty funny. I liked it. And that's how I played the last 2 minutes. Like me football, me like, and like no thinking, no nothing, just making plays,
Are you
making plays,
saying
making plays.
he's Link from Encino Man?
No, I'm not. I mean, he he's a meathead, and I mean that in a generous way. I don't mean that in like a belittling way. He's like he's a me think football, that like he
But that's
just
not supposed to be insulting at all.
well,
Like,
it is a little obviously, but I just mean like he's so some guys are much more like intellectual players than that. Like he just doesn't strike me as an intellectual player. Lamar is a thinker. Like you see Lamar processing constantly with the ball in his hand. Will Levis is a me throw ball,
Yeah,
me
totally.
take snap, me throw ball, me take snap, me throw ball, and that's fine.
Throw
Like,
ball, I love that.
that's great. I mean, like some guys just are able to are that way. And again, I'm not saying he's not a smart guy.
He was pumped.
It's just some guys are much more like intellectual in the moment.
Yep.
You can sort of see the processing, and he's just more. I mean, he just seems much more like a just quick eyes, quick processing when he's not thinking about it.
Yep.
Like he plays his best football not thinking.
Yes.
The 2-minute drill. I mean,
but this isn't meant to be insulting.
No, it's not meant to be insulting. Everybody has different skill sets. I mean, like, I mean,
some people are quarterbacks. There are people who are
He's
not.
got caveman strength
mhm.
and intelligence.
That is not helping.
Listen. All right, one more game. Let's get to the Rams and the Ravens. We got to do Rams and Ravens.
We have 2 more games. You forget. We have 2 more. And he's saving the best one for last. The Rams Ravens is what we can talk about now. Okay. That is for sure. I do not like, first of all, Matt Stafford throwing rainbow passes on us all day is infuriating.
Yeah,
because he kept stopping him, and then he would just throw this McDonald's arch of a pass to Cooper Kupp.
Beautiful.
It's like, how can we not cover that?
He's a beautiful man. I love Matt Stafford. I think he's awesome.
It's not I'm a big fan. It's more common on our defense allowing that kind of pass to even happen.
Well, it was a day where our defense was not particularly great. That's for sure. Where they got consistently sort of beaten.
Yes.
And you still, but look, we all know that's going to happen. In the course of a season, you're going to have games where the offense looks like shit, games where the defense looks like shit.
We usually lose those games.
Sure.
Right. Good teams find a way to win.
I'm good with that.
We usually lose those games.
Here's my concern, though. Marlon Humphrey has lost a step because he has repeatedly now each week had a really bad pass interference penalty on somebody that he is grabbing because they beat him. And I realize that some of that is speed and stuff, but Marlon is not the same Marlon that he's been.
Now,
I hope that doesn't bite us.
I'm going to disagree with you. I mean, that might be true, but I'm going to disagree with you about that. Marlon has always been gets the bad pass interference call when he gets beat because Marlon is a smart enough player to know when he does not have help over top. And, he is less likely to get burned for a long touchdown because he is smart enough to know it's better to fight another down than to get burned for the 6. I have no problem with those. It's going to get beat.
Those aren't the ones I'm talking about right now.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I agree with you. Historically, that's who he's always been. He knows he's beat, so he just grabs the guy and go. That's fine. He lived to play another down. Right. That's not what's happening now. He's grabbing because it feels like he's lost a step. And so he's getting beat more frequently. And I don't think teams are as afraid of him as they once were. I think people are starting to see, no, Marlon's still a great corner. He is not as great as he was.
Sure.
And so he's is people aren't as scared, especially if they got a talent like Cup and Nakua that can move really quick, and he's going to have a hard time keeping up with them.
Speaking of defense, can I ask you guys a question here? I remember when I was watching Ray Lewis, I would track him and his stats. And same with a lot of great linebackers. And they would get like 14 tackles a game up to 20 if they had a really solid game. And I tracked today and they're like 5 and 4 and like 6. Like, is that like because of the change in something?
That's part of it.
Seeing?
Like, yeah, some of it is more passing game influence, but also you can't forget that Sam Adams and Siragusa were eating up the middle, which kept letting Ray run free, which
I get that.
Helped him.
I get that, but also when I remember a lot of other linebackers I was following at the same time, and like even after that, the guy that was with San Francisco who retired, I can't think of his name. Willis. He was Patrick Willis. He was the same thing. Like I remember they would get like 15 tackles a game, 14 tackles a game, like 13 tackles a game, 20 tackles a game. If you look at Ray Lewis's stats per game, you would see his good games, he would be up to like 20 tackles a game. And then maybe down to 14 tackles a game. And I feel like today's stats are a little different for some reason. Like I'm following some linebackers here. I'm just looking at teams. And as I'm looking at their stats, I'm looking down.
I'm just
like
gonna
defensively, and I'm seeing like 6. Like even like I'm scrolling through every team.
Yeah, but like are you going on average or are you going on the high point? Because like Roquan had a 14 tackle game this year. Alex Singleton. I'm
not going on high point. I'm not going on high point. I'm just going through like as we're discussing today. I'll go through like player stats, and I'll scroll down, and each team.
I think the passing game's had a big impact on that. To kind of get to your point, I do think that fewer teams running straight up the middle and even inside the 2 tackles, right, to the gaps, like that is not happening as often. It does happen still, but not you don't see the guy rushing. We talked about last week for 30 carries a game or something like that. There's more of a dynamic pass attack too.
If you like as we're going through Yahoo, if you pick any game and just look at player stats and scroll down to the defense, every single team, the top tackler has like 5 tackles.
Okay, I'm just gonna really quick. I'm just gonna you're wrong. You're wrong, and here I'm just gonna give you some numbers. In the year in 2001, Ray Lewis led the NFL in tackles with 161 total tackles. Last year, Fuyasane Olukun, the guy from Jacksonville, had 184 to lead the league last year. In 2021,
was he a linebacker, a middle linebacker?
Yeah. In 2021, he led the NFL with 192. In 2020, Zach Cunningham had 164. So Ray had 161 in the Super Bowl season. I'll pull another year. I'm just going to grab 1991 out of random. Al Smith led the league with 145. So it's really not much different.
Well, I mean, I would say if anything, they're trending in the other direction because like this year, Zaire Franklin for the Colts has 144 tackles already. Right. And there's still 4 games to go.
Bobby Wagner led in 2016 with 167, which compared to Ray's 161 sounds about right. Yeah. So maybe they're trending a little bit.
It probably looks different is really what it looks it's less with the running back and more with receivers.
I just looked at the Colts, and who were you talking about?
Zaire Franklin.
He had 6 tackles. Like how are they having but I'm looking at every single team, and they're all at 6 and 5. And I feel like when I was watching the Ravens, they were at like in the teens. So how are they having so many tackles?
Because we run the ball more than any other team in the league.
Right.
So
I'm saying like, but what you're saying, Brian, is that these players have more tackles
today
than Ray did back then.
Yes.
Correct.
But I feel like as we're discussing this and as I'm looking through and I'm clicking, and I'm looking at player stats per game, and I'm looking at stats. Here goes 6. Darnell Savage led the Packers. Look at the Giants. Who led the Giants? 9 tackles. That's the biggest I've seen. Banks for the Giants. 9 tackles. That's the most I saw all week. I don't know if anyone had more than 9 tackles all week in the NFL.
Maybe not, but it does.
But my
We're
point
talking
is
seasons, not just a single week.
Right. But my point is,
I mean,
it
Roquan's
seems
got
like a pretty
136
large.
on the year,
But it seems like what I'm looking at here, I've just scrolled through about 8 games, and 9's the high. I feel like it's a pretty good sample size, and I feel like my memory serves me correct. Let me just look. I mean,
that's where you're flawed. It's definitely a memory problem.
Maybe it's my memory. Let me just look at.
I mean, there are games where one guy seems to be like making a ton of tackles.
Let me look at.
Yeah.
Let me just look at the stats here. Career stats. I just want to see like games. Baltimore. Because it just seems like I just remember looking at the games and thinking that per game, right?
Yeah, in my memory, I feel like Ray Lewis had 10 tackles every time he stepped foot on the field, and
more than 10.
And
more than 10, like 14.
And he had a bunch of seasons where he was like 160 tackles on the season. So that is 10 a game. That makes sense that I would remember it that way. But like, that means some games he had 15, some he had 5. And that's just, depending on how much they ran up the middle. You know what I mean? Like how much.
But how come? I get that. I'm with you. But how come when I'm scrolling through these games that we're looking at, there's 0?
You're looking at 1 week, though, a 1 week sample size.
Yeah. Maybe this is just an off week. Is that what you're saying? Like this week?
Mm-hmm. They were talking about it on one of the games this week, and it might have been the Titans game. I might be wrong about which one, but there was a linebacker who had like 19 tackles last week in one game.
Really?
20 tackles in one game.
Okay. Yeah. I got you.
It doesn't happen every week.
Maybe it's just because I honestly haven't noticed that at all. So this is something new to me. I just noticed it as we're scrolling through each game. I'm looking at stats. I'm thinking,
just watch Roquan. Watch Roquan because that's your parallel to Ray. Like, I'm not saying they're the same player, but
right.
Roquan's influence on that defense makes it feel like he's involved in every single tackle. And that is what Ray had going for him. And that's probably what you're honing in on a little bit, is that it's the influence of that player on the field more than the actual stats.
And he had 5. Like, he had 5 tackles this week. That's probably why, because everyone – I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. But – and obviously Ray was a different player, but I swear to God he had – I feel like every time I watched and looked, because I used to follow his stats, every game I'd be like, damn, 14 tackles and blah, 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 and this and that, and deflections and an interception and this and that. And even this one, like this week, Roquan, 5 tackles, 5 assists. Maybe
that's a good thing for you to point out. You talked about like batted passes and all that. Those are statistics that don't count as tackles, but do talk more to the influence that player.
Hold on. I'm noticing something here. They used to have, so with tackles, I don't think they ever used assist before.
They did. They've been tracking assists for a long time.
Really?
We had a fantasy league where we had defensive players, and that's the main reason I know this is because they've been tracking assists.
Wait a second.
Hold on.
Here's why.
Mike, this is what it is.
This is what it is. I'm seeing it. It's 5 tackles, 5 assists. They used to categories as 10 and then 5.
It's always been categories as assists, but that's 10. But it would be on the ESPN ticker. On the ESPN ticker, it would come up as 10 tackles.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Because that's because they still because they tally that as a total.
I got you.
That could be what it is. Yeah.
That is what it is.
So I just realized this. I just realized the same thing. I mean, I'm looking at like how, I'm looking at your numbers and I'm going, yeah, but if you count the assists,
you're right. Okay, that makes sense then. That's
yeah,
perfect
I mean,
sense.
I'm looking, I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm seeing guys with 10 tackles this week. So I wasn't sure what but I wanted to hear what you were saying. So, yeah, I mean, the Titans Dolphins game, Aziz Al Shahir had 10 tackles, 7 solo and 3 assists. Yeah. So there you go. All
So
right.
he would probably go down as 13.
No, 7 solo, 3 assists.
7
So he'd go down as 10.
Oh, 10. You're right.
Yeah.
10.
And it's weird because in sacks, they still treat that differently. You'll get like a half sack, like,
A half sack.
1.5 sacks on the day.
Yeah.
That's what makes that, it's so weird, right? Is that why don't you do the half thing with tackles too? Like that should be, it should be 8.5 as opposed to 10, right? If you're going to call it that way.
Yep.
Yeah,
You're
because
exactly right.
I guess it's because a sack is a subcategory. Like when you get a sack, you get a tackle. If you get a half sack, you get a whole tackle. So, because that's the more important. That's technically, I guess, the more important stat is the sack is the sack is the luxury stat.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. All right. So
it's time for the crybaby.
Well, hold on. We didn't even talk about Tylan Wallace.
I mean, yeah, it was great. Like, I don't know how he stayed in bounds, quite frankly. I've watched that replay 100 times, and I'm like, I feel like he's running on the white. And I know he wasn't. Like, we've seen the replay, but it's like, how did they miss him? Like, he didn't do anything special, like, to break it out, and it didn't look that open either.
First
the most important
career punt return.
Yes.
Well,
the most important part
the Frenchman got hurt.
I know. That's my boy. The most important part about that is that's like the type of stuff, that's like the momentum that propels you. Those types of plays, I feel like. Because we're not losing these types of close games. We're winning the close games. We're getting the big plays. They're going our way.
We are now.
Momentum. Yeah.
And Brian, I'm going to feel so vindicated if we win the Super Bowl this year. And I've been complaining of Greg Roman to you for like 3 years straight. And I'm not the only change, but there's a huge change that we made.
Sure.
And to win immediately after the fact, I'm going to look at you and go, I told you it's the problem.
And you know what? While I'm jumping up and down celebrating, you can have it.
You won't care.
That's right.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I mean, in fairness, I mean, I've never fully disagreed with you about Greg Roman. I mean, I've said like, I'd like to see him be more creative. I'd like this. I'd like that too. But I guess my feeling has been like, well, like, like it would be nice to have somebody better, but I guess I'm always you're always complaining in the season. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. I want to watch him win.
I've been complaining for years, though, all through the season. And I think I walked into one season going, we have no real chance as long as he's our offensive coordinator. And I think it was last season. I'm like, I'll watch the games as a fan, but we have no real chance at doing anything with him as the offensive coordinator. And it's infuriating.
Yeah.
He's just awful.
Yep. Well, I think the NFL sees that now.
Yeah, we'll see. Somebody else will probably give him a chance.
They didn't this year.
But we did get gifted another Christmas present with Miami dropping the ball the way that they did, because now we can lose to San Francisco and still be fine as long as we beat Miami later.
Yep.
Which they don't scare me as much. Jacksonville doesn't scare me as much as they did, a few weeks back either.
Jacksonville makes me nervous because we always play bad in Jacksonville. It's the same as like Tampa Bay and Green Bay. It's like it's just one of those things. And the more that kind of thing happens, the more it gets in your head if you're a player, even though your team has never lost there. It doesn't matter. It's like
And Mike said it last week about the Chargers, because he's right. We don't play great against the Chargers in LA or San Diego.
Yep.
So,
all right. So let's talk.
Let's do the crybaby.
Let's talk.
Crybaby.
Let's talk. Hold on. Let's talk about this right here.
Oh God.
Oh no! What the hell am we watching? What are we watching? Oh man!
You and your Giants Packers love. That's what we're watching.
No, that wasn't what I was trying to show you guys. Hold on.
Yes, we've all seen the Mahomes crybaby clip with the mouth over the top.
I know it's so funny. It is so funny.
I know it's worth watching again.
I mean, the balls on these people to complain.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for him to.
I mean, look at that.
It was so the beginning of that scene I have an issue with because that was one of the most unsportsmanlike things I think I've ever seen out of him.
I agree.
In the way that he was with Josh Allen. Not like
totally.
He's such a sore loser in that moment.
Totally.
Like that was
Totally.
Josh
trying
Allen
to take
had
away
no
from his
impact
win.
on any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to take away from his win and blame it on the refs. He's a douchebag.
Close.
He's a spoiled fucking douche, is what he is.
I mean,
I
really hate it because I've Mahomes is the guy I've really liked. Not just because of his play, but like
changed after Sunday.
I mean, but hearing him after
after
losses, I've never had a problem with him after losses. He always seems to be like he is accountable. He takes, he has taken responsibility for things that were his fault.
He's never douche.
He's never thrown other teammates under the bus. Nothing. Never heard anything like that. The only thing I can figure is this is a guy who, first off, they got screwed last week by the refs. So
sure, and normally give all the credit, but yes, you're absolutely right.
So I think in his mind, this has to be a thing where he's feeling like back-to-back weeks, the refs have taken a game away from us.
Yeah.
But you know what?
And on top of that play, Travis Kelce, phenomenal to do that in that moment, to see that, and like it's just such a cool, like it is disappointing to not, as a fan, have that play be.
Yeah, as a fan, I don't want that call.
Forever. But at the same time, as a fan of that game, there's nothing more infuriating than later that night or the next day when everyone's talking about how far offside Tony was when they allowed it to happen. We're all hating on the Chiefs today. Right now, if that had gone the other way,
right,
and we're hating on the Chiefs anyway.
And here's my question to you guys. Here's my question. Every other time I've ever seen that happen, the player looks at the ref and they give him a signal.
Yes. They
say you're good. You're good.
When a play calls for you to line up that close, like when you're supposed to line up on the ball like that. Mm-hmm. Veteran and Tony's been around a few years. He's not a rookie. Players say to the ref, "Am I good?" That's why they don't get that flag very often. Because
they teach it in high school and everything else. The wide receivers always check with the referee. He never did it, and so it's really on him. It was a mental mistake.
And for them to complain because he was offsides. I mean, if you look at
not even close.
It wasn't even close.
It wasn't close. I mean, his whole foot was beyond the ball.
Him and Von Miller were headbutting each other, borderline. When you look at it from the angle,
his whole foot was past the ball. I mean, it was not. It was not close.
For Mahomes to throw such a fucking fit, it's like, my God, it's like,
Well, he didn't see the play. I think is part of what it is. But for him to double down on it in the post game,
that's the biggest thing.
Problem.
Because by that time, somebody told him, yes, he was offsides.
Huh? Well, maybe not. Maybe not.
Same guy, but different mustache.
You cut, Garrick. You cut out. I didn't hear you.
I said Holmgren and I misspoke. I meant Reed. I'm like same heavy set dude. Mustache, right? It's same guy. But yeah, they both did in the media.
Yeah. Oh,
I was gonna say
told him maybe he was offsides.
Maybe no one did tell him.
Holmgren also argued that it was a bad call. I keep saying Andy Reid. Sorry, Andy Reid kept saying he said it in the post conference that it was also a bad call. And that's, to me, like, wait, you guys are notoriously getting these calls going in your favor.
Always.
Like, horrible. And I think I sent you guys even a clip of one of those that they didn't, you didn't call like last year in the against the Eagles.
That's my thing with these guys.
The hold to go ahead last year against the Super Bowl.
Yes. In the Super
Bowl. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what kills me about this fucker complaining is that he has been gifted so many fucking games in his career. Fuck him.
Yeah.
He won't get as many right now. People are not going to be happy with him.
No,
he's going to get booed out of stadiums at this point.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the officials. That is a little fraternity that I guarantee you he's not going to get any slack.
No, hell no. Hell no.
And you know what? Look.
You're right about that.
Kadarius Toney has a reputation for being one of the lazier practicers. I mean, so does Hopkins, like DeAndre Hopkins, same kind of reputation. Except in Tony's case, he's a guy who seems to have a lot of like little minor injuries on practice days. Oh, I can't go out there and do it today. Gets sick for a day or two a lot. Misses a lot of practices. Can't go full speed. And this is the second game that he has personally cost the Chiefs a win. It seems to me like maybe he ought to be focused a little more on practice. Because
he's not Hopkins. Hopkins performs on game day every single time.
Tony is one of the most frustrating because, like, you see the athletic ability and just he can never put it together. And you go, well, I mean, you skip a lot of practices. You skip a lot. Maybe if you showed up, like maybe he would be a number one receiver for that team. Like maybe he could be that guy if he was more disciplined. But he is not disciplined. I mean,
talent's there. The talent is there.
Yeah.
But he just definitely doesn't show up for him. And Rashee Rice looked great.
Rashee Rice is
they've got
emerging.
At least one guy that's pretty good, but they got punched in the mouth by the Bills. Yeah. And they struggled.
The Bills are desperate. The Bills are desperate.
Sure, but they're going to take everyone's best shot. They don't have any risk left this season, I don't think, but the playoffs are going to be a challenge for them. They're going to be a good team. They're going to be a hard out, but they're not going to have as easy as they think they do.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills get they get the Cowboys this week, then they go to the Chargers, then they get the Patriots at home, then they go to the Dolphins. So, I mean, the Bills, I assume the Bills probably make the playoffs. There's 2 wins there, maybe a third win. I don't know.
Right.
Bills at Dolphins. I don't know. And Cowboys at Bills. I think the Bills could win that game, but who knows?
They're currently in tied, but they're in 11th by rank. but it's the same record as the 7th overall team. So there's a lot that's going to happen in the last 4 weeks.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, I do think again, this is a game where Josh Allen put everything on him and carries that team to victory. Which, sure, but like he has to do that week in and week out. And that's why I think the Bills just can't go very far in the playoffs. They need somebody.
They didn't give a lead in the 4th quarter finally. I mean,
yeah. They just need somebody to help take some pressure off Josh Allen, and they just don't have it.
Yep.
Anyway, all right. Let's talk picks. Mikey wins last week. Pretty good week for Mike.
Where did you guys get? What did you guys end up with?
Not enough.
Yeah, not enough.
Just curious because I can never see. I'm not saying that to rub it in. I'm just, I don't
have to go to the group and look at the group picks.
I can't, I can never figure that out. So I'm just curious.
I only had 6 and Brian had 7. You had 9.
Yep.
It's not bad. Not bad.
Yeah, I had a bad week. I switched one game last week because when I saw that New Orleans had so many people that were out, I'm like, well, Carolina might actually keep that one close because it was like 7 points. Yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah, no.
No, that didn't go that way.
They're so bad.
That's why I chose their defense in that fantasy because I'm like, oh, they've got no offensive weapons, so maybe they'll slow them down. No.
All right, let's see. But they had Olave and Kamara. I guess that was enough.
Yeah.
All right, gents, we've got the Los Angeles Chargers. Hold on.
I've been looking at this one. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
The Raiders.
The Los Angeles Chargers, led by Easton Stick.
That sounds made up. Are we talking baseball again?
Easton Stick. It does sound like a baseball bat.
Or a really stellar linebacker. It
sounds like a baseball bat. I mean, it sounds like a high school,
Right. Exactly.
What are you swinging over there, Louisville Slugger? What do you got? Easton Stick?
Yeah, exactly. It's the Walmart Louisville Slugger.
Yeah. So you got Easton Stick in the Chargers against I guess Devontae Adams trying to throw the ball to himself there in Las Vegas. Is Josh Jacobs? Is he
I
coming
hate
back
this
this
game
week?
so much. I
Is he
don't
gonna-
know.
I
I
know.
think he's day to day.
I honestly have no idea, and this will be a proud one that I say there's no way I'm turning that game on. Like
Yeah.
this game, this
This-
Thursday is
This is a
another
truly
garbage
unwatchable
game.
game. This is a truly unwatchable game.
Watchable. It is. It is.
How are
I
the
mean-
Raiders so bad though? Because with Jacobs and with Devontae and Myers, like, is Aiden O'Connell not that good?
I'm
Like,
starting to think I liked I watched him in his first game and I thought, okay, there's something to work with here. And then his second game out, he looked like he made some progress.
go ahead, do your Will Levis impersonation because they're kind of the same guy.
Yeah, he is a little bit the same guy, but he's lacking the arm talent.
Yeah, they're not they've got a good defense. That's the only thing that I'll give them.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
I
This is
hate this game
this is a
so
terrible
much.
game. The Raiders are favored by 3. The Raiders,
Can we-
Raiders are favored by 3, which is astonishing given that they just lost a game 3-0.
Mhm.
That they just came out of a game where the Minnesota Wild beat the Golden Knights 3-0.
Yeah, yuck.
Mhm.
All right, I'm taking the Raiders, but I hate it.
Go ahead, Brian.
I'll take the Raiders as well.
I'm gonna go with the Chargers. Listen, let me ask you guys a question.
All right.
Can we see each other's picks during
Yes.
the week?
No,
Yeah.
not until
Not until the game starts.
Okay, I got you. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, once the games start, you can see whatever
I mean,
games are
granted,
going.
we are telling each other what we're choosing, so
I
don't know
hear
that-
you. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you.
All right.
All right, I'm going Chargers. Reluctantly going Chargers because that's a tough one.
Easton Stick.
Brandon Staley, Easton Stick. Yeah, I'm going Raiders.
I'm still
Right.
just stunned they haven't fired Staley. Anyway, all right. The Minnesota Timberwolves go into Cincinnati to play the Bearcats. And the Bearcats are 3.5-point favorites.
Bungholes.
Oof. I'm
I'm
going
all
Minnesota.
in. I'm all in on Browning. You have to go Minnesota, but I'm all in on
You have to go Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Browning on a Saturday game. Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh goes to Indianapolis as a 3-point dog.
I don't. This is just. I think I'm going to go Colts purely because they're home. I just don't believe in that offense at all in Pittsburgh to be able to keep up with anything.
Me either.
I'm going
Augie?
Colts.
You going Colts?
Colts.
I'm taking the Colts as well. So that's a push. 3 Colts. We'll probably get the Steelers on that one. It won't matter. Nobody will win. All right. Denver at Detroit. Detroit is a 5-point favorite.
Yeah. I'm actually going to go Broncos.
Yeah, I am too. I think that's the game of the week. My pick of the week, actually.
I'm going to take Detroit because I think they need to get right, and I think the Broncos are certainly beatable.
But I agree with you on that. I'm not saying who I think will win. I'm just saying 5 points. I can see this being a 3-point game that Detroit somehow pulls out in the last minute and a half or something along those lines.
Denver wins that game.
No, you're picking Denver outright.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just taking.
I
them to cover for sure.
might bet on that game.
The way
Well-
Denver is playing and the way, I mean, they're definitely beatable, but Detroit does not look good right now.
No,
They're not stopping
they're shit.
anybody.
They're garbage.
Here's why I'm taking Detroit. I probably shouldn't share this. But the reason I'm going to take Detroit is because Goff plays terrible in cold weather. But
Sure.
Ford Field, he doesn't have to worry about that.
Right.
No, but he's
So-
got a Denver defense he does have to worry about.
Yeah, I think he'll be. I think they'll get right in the dome.
That weather is point one, 0.01 on the scale. It's not going to be.
I disagree. I think that playing at home, with in a breezy 73-degree stadium, I think they're in good shape.
Their
I
last
think.
home game, they lost to Green Bay, by the way, on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah,
And it looked bad. They've looked
did.
bad for 4 weeks in a row now, or 3 weeks in a row. So
I know. I know. I'm going with Detroit. I think that they're in panic mode and they're in get right. I think they're going to get right this week. It's probably a dumb call because Denver looks like they know how to win just barely, but I'm going to go with Detroit.
I hope Detroit turns it around. I hope I'm wrong. I just don't feel. I feel like they're heading the wrong direction.
Oh, they're definitely heading the wrong direction, but I'm going to take them this week. I think Denver is just living on borrowed time. We'll see. I mean, the thing is this, the Denver offense can't exploit bad defenses. They are not good. So
Portland Sun does, but he's the only one.
He's the only one. And so that's my thing, is that Detroit's defense is terrible, but Denver's not the team that seems to be able to exploit that kind of stuff. So I feel like that's why, but I mean, again, that 5-point spread, we'll see. I don't like it. I'd like it to be 3, but that's okay. All right. Chicago going to Cleveland. Cleveland is favored by 3.
I take Chicago.
I'm taking the Brownies here, and I do think I think that line is a perfect line because I could see this being a really nasty defensive battle because Chicago's D is playing great. We all know about Cleveland's D, but I think that's going to be a really close game. That might be the game of the week when it all comes around.
I agree with everything you said and your pick. So
thank you.
Yeah, I agree with everything. No, I agree with you. I think that's could be a really fun game. Yeah. Let's see. Tampa Bay going to Green Bay. You guys already know how I feel about that, so I'll go ahead and pick it. Green Bay, 3.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Green Bay just at home in bitter cold weather against against the Florida boys.
Same for me.
Green
Bay. Tampa's not good against covering the pass, so I think that the Packer offense will probably look good again this week.
Well, and I think Watson's going to be back. I think Watson's back. Let me actually look at that because I think Watson.
I think that was more of a compliment to the Giants D than it was Green Bay missing Watson. Yeah, that definitely changes things, but the Giants D, we've talked about it. They started getting right a few weeks back. And they're on a win streak, partly because of Tommy DeVito.
For some reason, I mean, it's actually looking a little bit more questionable. For some reason, I thought Watson had a chance to play this week, and so I thought for sure that means he'll probably be back next week. But whatever.
Gotcha.
All right, Houston at Tennessee. Tennessee is 2.5-point favorite. After beating the Dolphins, Tennessee is getting a lot of love all of a sudden.
Is Stroud playing or is he in concussion protocol?
He's in the protocol, so we have no idea.
This will be a game I revisit. I probably am going to look at injuries because if Stroud and Collins play, I probably go Houston. And if either of them don't, I probably go Tennessee.
I'm going Tennessee right now.
Yeah.
Same for me right now.
I am doing the same thing. I'm taking Tennessee until we know about Nico Collins in particular.
Yeah.
I think, Stroud without Collins is in trouble because,
Well, and what about Schultz too? I don't know. Like if Collins and Schultz come back with Stroud, then I'll take Houston.
Yeah. All right, let's see. The New York Jets travel all the way down to the cocaine capital of America as that line changed dramatically. It was a 12-point line on Monday. It's 9.5 today.
I'm taking the Jets, baby.
I too am taking the Jets. That is a big line against that defense.
Yep. Wow, and it swayed so much that it tells you that the smart money is on the Jets.
Yep, I'm taking
the Jets. Tyreek, like being day to day, I know, but it did not look like he could cut very well after he got injured. Like he was running, if you notice, he was running because I went back and watched some of the highlights. He was running straight lines. And when he was running like routes that required him to cut, it was always with one foot, and it was never the one that was injured. And I think that's why they pulled him at the end of the game because it was like, no, the other team's going to figure that out, and they're not going to cover certain things.
Yep. All right, let's see. Kansas City goes to New England, 9.5-point favorites.
They're going to smoke them. I'm taking Kansas City.
Hate that line. It's such a big line. I do think Kansas City wins this game, but I'm probably going to go Kansas City, but I hate this line. I'm going to go KC.
Yeah, I'm also going to go KC. I think they're pissed and they're going to get vengeance.
Yeah. Bailey
But-
Zappi's better than Mac Jones, though.
I mean, I'm shocked to agree with that. That is the case, but yeah. All right, the New York Football Giants, Tommy DeVito, go to New Orleans, 5-point dogs.
Give me the G-men. I'm riding the hot hand. I like their defense.
Mhm.
It is scare. New Orleans Giants. Yeah, I'm gonna go G-men. Most of the
Yeah.
public's on New Orleans, actually. So
It's because
Yeah,
they're
I'm
home
going-
and they're historically tough at home.
I'm going G-men.
Yeah, me too. Jeez.
Mm.
The way it's sort of looking is like we're going to have this week decided by the end of Saturday because we're basically agreeing on everything.
Well, we're agreeing on the next one too. I'm fairly certain. So,
Well, the thing that's shocking about this is the line. Atlanta
Yeah,
at
no
Carolina,
doubt.
3-point
agreed.
favorite.
What the hell is going on
That's
here?
easy money bet for me.
Well,
for
I
sure.
think it's because Atlanta's offense has been so spotty. You go, well,
This is a scary line right here. When you see something like that that looks so obvious,
I know.
and plus 72%, no, 73% of the public's picking Atlanta. I'm going Carolina.
Oh, gross. That is a
Yeah.
mistake, sir.
I'm going Carolina. Sorry.
I'm
These are
taking
the games that's going to separate us, my brother.
I'm taking the Falcons.
Okay. We'll see.
Bryce Young, baby. You got all your eggs in Bryce Young's
I mean,
basket.
Listen,
They've put up 25 plus points in every
dude,
week
I get
since
you guys.
week
I
8,
get you guys.
except for against the Jets.
Look,
The
I get you guys. And hopefully this traditionally this is the type of game I'd look for to take advantage of. But man, they know too much. Like Vegas knows too much. When you see a spread like that, they're not dummies. There's a reason. And and I think
All
when
right.
you see something like this, and this is another, just to give you a glimpse into my strategy, when the general public, the line is, when they are so far over, and I told you this, the percentage, general public are idiots, so go the other way. And I think this is one of those games where I think maybe when you do that, it pays off. So we'll see.
So by that
Man.
logic, should you not be picking Kansas City? Because they're 70% to the general public.
They are, but I think in that game, well, I'm gonna look at it. You're right. You're right.
How about Cincinnati, Minnesota? Because they're 76.
Hey, listen, I didn't say that's the only barometer. All right.
The Colts are 68, by the way.
I didn't say that's the only barometer, but it's a big barometer. I'll be honest with you. It's a big indicator for me.
Cleveland 71.
Because general public is an idiot.
So
we'll see.
I'm just going to say this for whatever you do. I mean, I don't want to change your mind because I think I can make up a game there. But since the Panthers beat the Texans back on October 29th, here's what the Panthers have scored: 13, 13, 10, 10, 18, 6.
They're going to win 3-0.
They have been so bad. So yeah, they got a win, and they got their first win, and then they won scoring 15, just to it lets you think that they did something special.
Now the next game is what?
The Commanders stumble their way across the country to face the Rams, 6.5-point dogs.
I like the Rams. Even with Washington coming off a bye week.
Yeah, I don't think a bye week's going to help Washington's problems.
Their offense has been okay, but I just don't. I feel like jury's out on that. Like the secret's out on them now.
Mm-hmm. And I think
Yeah.
losing Chase Young and Montez Sweat has made them
Definitely hurt the D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Rams.
And the Rams are playing good. They're playing good ball right now. So
Rams and the Rams are right back in a playoff hunt.
Mhm.
You know, yeah, I got the Rams as well. I don't love the spread, but I like the Rams in this. All right. Here's another comical spread for you, Mike. San Francisco to Arizona, 13.5-point favorite.
You're not going to follow your system.
And
I'm
only
gonna do San
only
Francisco.
65%. Only 65% are taking the Niners.
I'm going to
Yeah.
do San Francisco.
I'm on the Niners as well.
I mean, this game is like, if there's ever been a trap game, this is the trap game. I mean, after going in and playing the Eagles and then the Seahawks, division rival Seahawks,
Yeah.
to
I
get
got you.
to go down to Arizona.
And looking ahead to Baltimore.
I mean,
Yeah.
it feels like a trap game.
I
but,
see it.
but
No,
my
San
God,
Francisco.
how do you bet on Kyler Murray?
San
I still go San
Francisco.
What'd you say?
The San Francisco treat.
Yeah, I still go with Rice-A-Roni as well.
Rice-A-Roni treat. Whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat. Yes, exactly.
Yes, the San Francisco treat.
13.5 points.
It's a big line, but when they score in bunches.
Yeah.
So
no, I'm going with San Francisco.
I mean, Seattle's a better team than Arizona, and they just crushed them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that it matters that they're a better team. It's more about whether or not Arizona catches them off guard because they're not prepared.
San Francisco's not Dallas.
And that's
San
true.
Francisco isn't Dallas.
I don't think Arizona's going to beat them, but like they might make it surprisingly competitive.
I can see it happening as well.
I mean, I can see Kyler Murray kind of pulling some shit out of his ass, and like
even a 10-point win, like that's domination still by San Francisco.
Right.
So
anyway, all right, Dallas and Buffalo. Buffalo is a 2.5-point favorite, and that line has changed from 1.5 to 2.5 overnight.
I'm gonna go with Buffalo.
I'm gonna go Cowboys.
I'm gonna go Buffalo. I think get some good old fashioned Buffalo snow, maybe some 4 or 5 degree, nice balmy weather. See what happens. All right, let's see. Baltimore goes to Andrew Jackson's town.
Baltimore.
3.5-point favorite.
Baltimore's gonna crush them.
Yeah,
Jacksonville's not a real team.
I don't know about crush, but they're gonna. I think they cover.
Yeah, they're gonna cover.
They smoke them.
As much as I am nervous about them playing in Jacksonville because they just always struggle.
They struggle, and I don't think they're going to look at
true.
San Francisco because Jacksonville, up until recently, has been one of the top teams in the AFC too. So I don't think they're a team you look past.
No, you're
Agreed.
right. You're right.
All right,
They're
Philly.
very good.
Philly goes to Seattle, 3.5-point favorite on Monday night.
They smoke them. They smoke them. Philly.
Eagles get right.
Eagles smoke them.
Yeah.
Yeah. 73% going Philly though.
I mean, that one is an interesting one for me because is Geno Smith back? Would be my first question. If he's back, that game is an interesting one because I don't have a lot of confidence in the Eagles' pass defense, and although I don't think Seattle will slow down the Eagles' offense either, like I can see that being a pretty high-scoring game.
Yeah, agreed.
Because with Metcalf, Lockett, Smith and Jigba, like they've got a lot of weapons. Plus, you throw Walker in there now that he's back, and like they've got a good offense. Seattle does. Yeah. Against a team that can't cover the pass. I still think Philadelphia wins, but so I'm going to ride with them.
Well, I'm going to take Philadelphia precisely because it's hard for me to imagine them losing 3 in a row.
Yeah. And Seattle's not Dallas or San Francisco.
No, I'll be honest. I think that if Philly had won either of these last 2 games, I think I'd be more inclined to take Seattle just because it's cross country. Sure. It's 3.5 points. It's not that big of a spread. But I mean, they're at home. Seattle's notoriously tough to play. But but I think Philly. I think this is like a team meeting week for Philly. You know what I mean? This is a player leaders get together and figure out what's going on kind of a week. But
And mainly because they got punched in the mouth. Like they got beat
twice,
up.
twice.
Yeah, it wasn't like they were close games. They got
No,
demolished by
they
both
got
of those
humiliated.
teams.
They got humiliated twice. Yeah.
Agreed.
All right, Mike, who'd you take?
He said Philly.
Philly.
But you took Philly. All right. So hold on. Let me if I get this right, just to go through this really quick again. Mike, you've got the Chargers over Vegas, right?
Yes.
And you've got Minnesota over Cincinnati, and then you've got the Colts, and then you've got Denver, right?
Listen, just take what you want to take, but at the end of the day, it's going to be documented.
I'm not
Because
taking anything. I was just asking you about those four Thursday, Saturday games. I was just because then
sounds great. Sounds great. But at the end of the day, it's going to be documented, and we're going to see who's the best.
All I was saying was, I think after those four games, I think after that, there's only like maybe 3 games we disagree on the rest of the way through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I was pointing out.
What I'm saying is, why am I not there? What I'm saying is that
now you're back on camera.
I may change some of those picks.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, we
You know
know.
what I mean?
Yeah, we've been watching this. You have.
I'm a genius with the mind of a champion. Okay. So it's always maneuvering.
By the way, we don't need the stone cold locks. We need the genius with the mind of a champion picks.
I don't know. I don't have a soundbite for that one.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
We'll just have to get him to do his best stone cold impersonation.
Yeah.
Just clip him saying it. That's all you really need to do.
Yeah.
Gentlemen.
I still love that expression because it means absolutely nothing. That's my favorite part, is that it
mean any. It means
it's words
everything.
with literally no coherent. No coherence.
It ties Brian's brain in a pretzel and he gets frustrated.
Because
he can't figure it out.
It's an utterly incoherent sentence. It makes no sense.
He's like, how can you be this and be that? What?
It's like when people call themselves a MAGA communist. Like it's like people who call themselves a MAGA communist.
No, nothing.
Or an anarcho-capitalist.
Nope.
These things do not make any sense.
It's nothing like it.
It's nothing like it.
It's a rare group. You're not a part of it, and you're jealous. That's okay.
Hey, listen, would Kirk Cousins be good in the 70s? I'm forgetting, because speaking of conversations that have no end.
You know what? He would be. Yeah, I think he would be. He would
dominate, right? Like the MVP and everything.
No. Absolutely not. Absolutely. He would be a Terry Bradshaw.
We found the line.
Terry Bradshaw.
Did we really find the line for this? Oh,
yeah,
right,
because
he didn't have
football is very different. Just because there's more of a rules difference, not a size and physicality difference. Right? See how Brian leans in. He's like, "Oh God, I got."
Because you're starting to make our argument for us right now, and that's why we're not. Going, wait, what?
I will say this. I will say Kirk Cousins can definitely play any era beyond lower than 70s and lower, any one of them, right? He could, if he was in the same league as the 50s with what's his face for the Colts that we were always debating about,
Johnny Unitas.
Johnny U. If he was on another team, the Vikings back then, he would have probably outdueled him and had better stats and everything else for sure. I think, no doubt about it. Just because he's going to be physically more
wouldn't
gifted.
Have mattered who the receivers were. He just would have been absolutely wouldn't have mattered.
Just like in today's era, it doesn't always. Receivers are receivers. They're very good athletes. They're all going to be very good athletes. But if you can put the ball on a dime, you're going to dominate. And in certain eras, like Tom Brady didn't have great receivers. He had Deion Branch. he had good receivers. He had very good system receivers, and he can go back in any era and dominate.
He had a very
Honestly,
good
I think
system.
Tom Brady could. Dan Marino could. Dan Marino could come in today's era and just fucking light it up, especially in today's rules.
You can't touch him.
He would rule. He would rule every. He would own everything. So
I stand by this. The best offense in today's modern era would be the Houston Oilers run and shoot offense with Warren
oh
Moon.
man, Warren Moon.
They would light everyone up.
Warren. By the way, Warren Moon is in my top 5 greatest all-time quarterbacks. Warren Moon, top 5. He's number 5. He's number 5 in my in all-time great quarterbacks. Warren Moon, number 5.
Did he play with Earl Campbell, or was Campbell gone by the time he came in?
He was gone. He was gone.
Yeah. He had Eddie George for the very tail end of his career, but yeah, they never really had much of a running game when he was there. Like little people that were okay, like, and you would skip name notoriety from them just because, hey, he scored a touchdown on a run play because they never ran. But yeah, no, it was all centered around that, and I still stand by that. I think that's the perfect offense.
Was that Glanville? That was Glanville, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's the one who instituted that. Yeah, the Raven.
He was one of them. Yeah. Yeah, Jerry.
All right, gentlemen.
Yeah, gents.
We'll see y'all soon. I had hoped your Christmas presents would have arrived by now, but I guess not. That's all right.
I gotta check. I gotta check the mailbox, but I don't believe it has.
But I'll be up in Maryland for the next for our next recording. Mike, we should maybe try to sit together.
What's the dates on this?
Oh no, never mind. Shoot. Actually, gentlemen, we do have a little bit of a problem. Next week, I forgot, on the next week on the 20th, I will be in New York, and I will not be recording because I will be in New York on the 20th.
That's okay, because Tuesday's the 19th, so everybody wins.
Oh, Tuesday's the 19th. Oh, yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, right, because this is okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So, right, because I'm looking at the calendar. See, I'm looking at the fact that it's after midnight.
Yes, it is after midnight for you and not for me. So there you go.
So next Tuesday, we might have to record a little early because I am leaving town at 5 a.m. to get up to New York early enough to be able to spend the whole day.
I'm gonna take Mike's side in this, and I don't see why that's our problem, because he did the same thing before he went off out of town for Thanksgiving for us. So I think you got to take me from the team here, buddy.
I think if the workload were shared more evenly among the three of us, that might be an argument you could make.
I don't
Talent
think
doesn't share workload.
Talk that much if I wanted to, Brian. Come on.
I'm not even just talking about that. I'm talking about all the other workload of it. So yeah, no.
There's no workload.
I thought that's why we were doing video, so that you didn't have any work to do.
So I don't have as much work to do. I only have a couple of hours worth of stuff to do. Yeah, a couple hours of.
What are your dates? When are you coming up here?
I'm coming up on the I'll begin late on the 18th, and then I'm going to New York on the 20th and 21st, and then I'll be back until New Year's Day. I'm gonna drive home on New Year's Day.
Oh, nice.
I like leaving on New Year's Day. But yeah, we'll get together. Maybe we can get together on the 19th. Maybe I don't think we'll be able to do it in person, but maybe we can get together what is the following week? The 20th.
It's the day after Christmas.
The day after Christmas. Jeez.
What day is the 19th?
Tuesday, same day as today.
Oh, that's great. That's a good day. That's a good day. Let's do it.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe we can get together. Maybe we get together the day after on the 26th. Maybe we can get together then.
Yeah. Day after the big game.
Ooh, 26. That might be pretty good.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything going on that day. So, I'll talk to the boss.
26 could be good.
But yeah, the 19th, we're gonna have to record early because I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm taking Carla to New York for her birthday. I need to be I've got a whirlwind trip. I'm gonna be going. I'm not going to Aruba where I get to lay around on a beach for a week. I'm going to New York where I'm gonna be hoofing it like all over God's green earth. I'm gonna, see if I'm gonna like
But how's
I've
that
done
our
it.
fault?
I've done it.
have
I've
to
done it. Trust me.
retread the Keens by the end of the trip.
Yeah,
How's this
I
our
know.
fault?
Not your fault. I'm just saying it's the reality.
It's the reality.
I'm trying,
So,
Mike. I'm trying to help you out here.
I know, man. I know.
No, I mean,
man.
I'm taking a bus to New York.
Oh, I've done that. I've done that.
I was gonna
Oh,
take the train
man.
up, but then I looked at the bus. It was so stinking cheap. I was like, well,
Dude, I know it's way cheaper, but
and I get to go out of White Marsh instead of having to go downtown. I mean, it's just
done it. Yep, done
you
it.
know.
Done it.
I mean,
done it.
the two of us are doing a round trip for
Hey.
like $30.
The only thing is the trip back. It's cool going up.
Yeah,
Are you going back the same way?
yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh man,
It's
see,
never
that's
as
the
much
thing.
fun when
Going
you go
back
home
sucks
as it is when you
because
get
you
up.
in the city you have to. It's like it just sucks.
It drops you off at White
But-
Marsh, though. It's nice. It's nice. I mean, I like that.
Yeah, I like that.
yeah.
That's a good part. That's
I
a good
mean,
part.
I don't have to. I mean, not that I mind going downtown, but it is nice not to have
Bad
to.
bad part's going to be in Manhattan. But
Oh yeah. What you mean? Just
Yeah.
getting out?
Yep, but
Oh,
it's
yeah,
all right.
it's gonna
You'll
be a
enjoy
nightmare.
it.
It'll be fine.
It's good. It's good.
We're leaving late too. We're leaving. We're like catching the bus out at like 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. or something like that. So it'll be
I think I
later.
probably left at the same spot you guys are picking it up at
Yeah,
because I've done
probably.
the same one. Yep.
All right, gentlemen. We'll talk to you next week. Earlier.
You got it, guys.
Earlier. See ya.
There.